Birds suck.
Birds suck.
Sorry if I interrupted you.
Wait. What's the premise of the painted bird?
Yeah, I've never even heard
The
of it.
painted bird is literally just like a bunch of. It follows like a little boy, if I remember correctly, and it's split up into like several different chunks. So it's just like, well, meets this one person and they treat him like shit, and then somebody gets raped somewhere, and it's just like, it's as like manipulative as something like a Serbian film, where at a certain point it's just shock value and there wasn't really anything substantive there. And it was just like, oh, come on. It's like, it's not even like, it was just trying to be edgy and extreme the whole time, really,
Well,
which is
have you ever seen
weird
Remember
and
Me?
masquerading as like an art film at the same time.
Isn't Harvey Keitel in that?
I think so.
No, Remember Me with Robert Pattinson.
I know some friends that watched the Serbian film, and I don't think they were like huge fans of it,
Yeah.
like at all.
For some reason, I was thinking of your name. Sorry.
I was thinking of the
Anime.
The Life of Strange Developers did.
Remember Me is basically one of those it's not rom-com, it's one of those like romance stories where it's like, oh, look how
Is it
sad
the
these
one
characters' lives
where
are. And it ends
the one
where
with Robert Pattinson?
Robert Pattinson is the 9/11 thing that happens.
Yeah.
just
That one's a funny one.
Yeah.
completely unearned. And they're like, we just need a sad beat. Well, you know
I
what's
actually
sad?
saw that movie when I was a kid a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even know it was happening at the end. Someone had to
Well, you
explain
still
it.
won't, so don't feel bad.
That's so bad. I wanted to make a Twilight joke out of this, but I don't know if I should.
I've heard a lot of comparisons with
Somebody has a computer echo.
Yeah, if anybody's listening with speakers instead of headphones, try to either keep your volume lower or plug in headphones. It'll just help with the echo, because the computer noise will go back into the mic, sort of thing.
I've actually heard a lot of.
If you have headphones, use them.
I've actually heard a lot of comparisons to the Nightingale. That's one of the times.
Comparisons to the Nightingale from what, though?
Come and see.
Come and see. I mean, Come and see is a billion times better.
Yeah, it's just my friend who absolutely adores that film. He's like,
the
director was like really inspired by that.
Mm-hmm. The new Nightingale?
Yeah.
I didn't know there was an old one.
Well, yeah, I didn't know if there was some old one I didn't know about.
No, there isn't. It was just inspired by Come and See is what I meant.
No, I agree. I'm just saying it's interesting that I hadn't heard anyone even think of it like a war film like that. It's kind of like an interpersonal revenge story.
Yeah.
Chad, you got a pretty good mic setup.
Oh,
do you do like streaming or what?
I do video essays and
okay, cool.
I do a podcast with a guy on Scoot.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's where I recognize you. Okay.
Yeah, they're the best.
They are.
Sometimes. Oh my gosh. It makes me think, because I have not changed out my stock fans since like last month. And my room, I don't know if you guys remember what my end sounds like usually, but it's so much quieter now.
I think you sound lovely.
Thank you. Trust me, my voice is so monotone. The only time you're going to hear me like express is when I'm shouting at dogs. So
I've actually thought of talking to like an elocution teacher.
Oh, and a what?
Basically like a speech coach or a vocal coach.
For what purpose? Just to get better?
Better. Yeah, just, better video. Half of the video is just me talking, and then the rest of it is just pointing to what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, like Chills wouldn't be popular at all if he did that. So.
Well, that's the problem. I don't think I have like a character voice either. Like even for you, Adam, you talked about how it's really hard to duplicate your voice. So I can hear it instantly and know like, oh, this is a YMS video.
Yeah.
Chills also says weird stuff, so that's part of it also. The voice.
I don't know too many deadpan people like YMS, just like.
Right.
Admittedly,
this is Rosa with. She has the Keki Genkai or whatever it is from Naruto. I don't know anything, but yeah. He includes a bunch of strangely, obviously fake theories and videos and treats them as real in his own videos. That coupled with his strange voices, it's a strange experience. That's why.
Well, another good one's like Donkey.
Yeah. I mean, like if you have like a unique sound, then that can work to your advantage.
Or
Also,
as long as it's not overly annoying.
Speaking of Donkey, do you guys know like how crazy it is? How many dislikes he's been getting on his Last of Us video? Like everyone's fucking shitting.
It's just
on
a
him.
polarizing game. Everybody's mad at everybody for like no good reason.
Or
Has
they will get
anyone
split
here
opinions
played it?
as
Has
well.
anyone here like
7 or whatever.
finished the game? Has anyone here finished it?
Yeah, no spoilers though either way, but
wait, which game?
Yeah, sure.
we can like talk about things without like specifying, I guess.
That's a
just give
dangerous
hints.
game with this many people.
I have no idea.
I mean, like,
Are we
I
talking
just thought,
about
like,
the game junkie?
about it.
Can I just say, since I played the first one 12 times, I was super ecstatic for it, and I just thought the catalyst they had for the story, for 2 of the main parts of the story, were so weakly delivered that I was not on board at all. Of course, the first thing that happens an hour in, and then the one that happens with Ellie and her girlfriend later on. When she, I thought those 2 catalysts were miserably delivered.
Sequel. Like the way it ended, it was fine.
Oh yeah, same here.
Yeah,
and I think I'm going to be happy not playing it because it's kind of same gameplay.
Like,
Wait, you haven't even played it though?
I spoiled a big moment for myself, and I was like, you know what? I'll save the $60 and wait for it to be.
Oh man, yeah, because like I don't know, for like a video game, like the narrative is certainly a big part of it, but I mean, like if you enjoyed the game, it's not like you'd just be watching a Let's Play instead of playing it. Like the playing experience is still part of it,
movies
right?
too, I think. Like there's a lot of movies where I say they don't need a sequel, but with games, the sequel always is technically necessary because it's just fun to play.
Do you think, do you think Bandersnatch would be an exception of that though?
Sorry, say that again.
I was wondering if you would think if Bandersnatch would be an exception of that, since that's kind of a video game type movie.
Well, yeah, I mean it's like you still want to be able to make the choices. Like you're missing a part of the experience if you're not doing it, I guess. But I don't know, because like if you want to know what happens in one,
the idea was really fucking awesome.
Yeah, if you want to know what happens in like one choice thread, you're either gonna like press the button yourself, or you're going to search up somebody else who did it or something.
The Until Dawn and Walking Dead games. Basically.
That was the funniest thing when I thought the Walking Dead was like really cool, and then I looked up like the alternate choices, and I realized that nothing changed.
Yeah, nothing matters in that game.
Actually, what's really cool about that
super
is that
linear.
Stadia may be the future for that.
And the second one it does as well. It's just nothing like super dramatic like people would think. Like, because think about it, we don't want to sit through games again. I mean, it depends on the game, and we don't want to sit through playing the same thing, knowing the outcome again and again, unless you enjoy it.
But the different outcomes could come with something as powerful as like Stadia, for instance. What's his name? John Smith was talking about that from Funhouse.
Multiple choice, just be a story-driven game, and that's it. Just be about the story. Don't.
Well, I think a lot of that, the limitations though, are the system itself. It's just not powerful enough to have that many actual branching choices. So Stadia could be a way for you to have the power level to actually be able to do that.
Can you remind me what Stadia is? Is that the Google thing, or what? What are we talking about?
Yeah, play off of their servers.
So like, when you're saying like Stadia could like what? I'm not really sure what you're getting at. That Stadia could have the capability of having more like choice branches than otherwise, like
because Stadia, the idea would be that you're using their servers and their basically processing power, and so you could be off shipping this like really difficult to build game that couldn't really fit onto like an Xbox, and then because you're using all this like off basically cloud processing power, you can make a really more complicated game. A good example is how like with Shadows over Mordor, they had to drop that like enemy vengeance system for the 360 version. And so it's just like more processing power doesn't just mean better, graphics. It can mean more difficult, like a heavy
AI capability
with like way more difficult choices.
I didn't know about that for that game because that was like what made the game.
It is. I agree.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just not memorable.
Yeah.
I did.
Honestly, with it, it's not super memorable.
Yeah,
I think out of all, I think out of all the
walking thing that stood out about it.
Yeah.
If it didn't have that, nobody would really pay attention. They would just say, "Oh, a licensed game that's playable. And
Well, it's just Assassin's Creed plus Arkham Asylum or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like the combat from
Yeah.
Arkham and the traversing from Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I played it, and I do not remember a thing about it.
I like the
other
story.
than the fact that there is an enemy ranking system and that the final boss is a quick time event.
So think about how much more dope that could be if you were offloading that processing power to somewhere else that had way more processing power than us. You know, there could be a lot of interesting heavy rain type games.
I just have concerns about like streaming games because I know game companies that run like online games love to just kill them and leave you no way to play them ever again.
Patching games.
Have you
just like destroying the game design?
Yeah, but I think that's happening
Rainbow
anyway.
Six Siege. I used to play Rainbow Six Siege for first 2 years of its launch until all the developers who were originally working on it left and new developers came in to keep updating the game. And on the first update, they introduced characters who completely went against the original game's design. Because does anybody here play it?
The game was, I do. The game was just completely broken. Those first 2 years, the game was just completely.
It was bugged in a lot of ways, but I'm talking about the game design in terms of operators, where they introduced characters who had gadgets that you could necessarily not avoid as every operator, which was not in tune with what the game was designed around. So it became counters. Oh, hey, you might pick a character that could potentially counter this one, and that was not originally.
Is there a single player for that Rainbow Six?
Yeah, but it's kind of just tacked on.
Because I literally
don't really play it.
Rainbow Six Vegas and 2.
Yeah, because I heard that they were gonna make
because
like
it was
a
the
full-blown
perfect video
single-player
game
campaign for it, like back when it was still being developed, but they changed that. Turned it into like multiplayer focus.
Some of the difficulty
That's what
here
I
is
heard.
just the game's lasting forever. I remember when DLC first came out, I thought, oh yeah, we won't have a Halo 5. We'll just have Halo 4 with infinite DLC. And this is the problem: is that companies get bought and sold and dropped, and then you end up with like holding this bag for the subscription you have, and then it's like, oh, well, it's kind of worthless.
I think Halo's pretty much
annoying.
Destroyed. I think
I don't think
Halo,
Bungie's gonna fix it. Or sorry, 343.
Yeah.
I think it's still gonna be bad.
Oh, you mean Halo?
I think Halo Infinite is kind of like bait. They're trying to remind people of the older games, but I think that's just bait to get people to buy the new Xbox.
I remember I was listening. I popped into like a critical stream, and he was saying that he thinks that Halo Infinite isn't real. Like it was just never like they just like it's just like in development hell, and they don't know what to do with it, and it's like a really shit. It's
just trying to trick everyone.
I can't imagine it's gonna be like good. Really?
Well, here's a question: what would it take to be good?
It's like Chaos Walking, except if Chaos Walking was already attached to a previous franchise.
I think part of what's hard with Halo is that after a while, you just feel like you know its tricks. And so when Halo 4 came out, I wasn't like, oh, this game's worse. I was just like, I just get it and I'm over it.
Yeah. I never played any Halo game.
I
never
like
owned an
Halo
Xbox,
4,
never anything.
but I think Halo 5 was the one that fucking destroyed the franchise.
Yeah, Halo 5 was
5?
unplayable.
Honestly.
Here's what's hard though.
Was
it because Halo 5 was so bad and everyone quit playing, or had they already
a lot
quit?
of money. Remember the collector's edition? I spent like hundreds of dollars, and then when I fucking played it, I finished it in like a day.
Nah, like Halo 5 basically betrayed the fan base in a way. Like they got rid of couch co-op, which is like something that is integral to Halo. Yeah, to have it like so that you can't even do it without two consoles is like really, really lame. The enemies weren't fun to fight. The levels weren't designed in any kind of fun way. They completely forgot about like the player experience of just like being able to enjoy the game. It was just like it was such a slog. It was just it was the first Halo game I didn't beat, and I tapped out at like level 2 and was like, I'm not enjoying any of this.
That's because the gaming industry is just completely about business at this point. Like, think about it. They put out a broken game, and then they're like, give us 6 months. We'll fix it with patches and DLC.
I mean...
But good games is good business, too, though.
There were some games. Like
everyone loves your game.
I don't wait that long to enjoy something because you got all these other games that come out in between that time. So it's like, am I even going to come back to it?
That's why I still think PlayStation is going to be like the most successful, just because they have all these fucking like.
They have better exclusives, and that's the only reason to buy a console.
I think that the console war has been about exclusives since the 360.
Yeah.
I got big
And,
Demon
like,
Souls
I
hype.
don't know.
The war has
You
been
guys
about
feel the same way, but
exclusives since Sega Genesis was the Super Nintendo. It's always been about
Well,
exclusives.
there used to be real differences between the consoles as far as power level, but now they're
Mhm.
so similar these days that it's like it's really just do I want to play God of War or do I want to play Halo?
They're not just
God of
similar,
War.
but
Do you
they're
want to
like
play Halo? Do you want to play God of War and Ratchet and Clank and The Last of Us and the list goes on?
they're
Yeah,
not
and
just
this
similar,
question
but they get
gives-
obsolete so fast, which is why
So fast.
like every console generation has essentially had like about a 6-year period, and even with the last one, they created these like in between console versions where they're like Xbox One X or PS4 Pro, and it was basically
even the
just like,
Slims.
okay, so this performs better, but we're not calling it a new console because that would be an admission that like of how quickly these things get obsolete with how quickly PC gaming has been progressing forward. So
Well, I used to think PCs were going to I thought the last console setup was going to be the last wave, and we are just going to basically do PC gaming from
No,
now.
they're
because
yeah,
it's
as long as
now.
exclusives are a thing, consoles will keep going.
Yeah.
That's
There
the
was
thing
also-
is like
There's also like
Windows...
this.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just saying like this thing that they're doing with like the PS4 and like the SSD. It's like this. It's like they're making it specifically for the PS4, and it's like it's like because a lot of SSD has like a lot of issues with like throttling and like not being able to use the full potential. Pretty much, like I saw like there was this like I don't know all of it because I'm not that smart. I couldn't understand it, but there's like this like in between. It wasn't like a big event, but like it had like I think it was Mark Cerny, and he was just talking about like how like this SSD is gonna work.
Well, they have to make them more like PCs to compete.
No, what they're saying is that they're gonna function like they're saying that it's gonna function even better than like a PC, like a
Which
PC
is a lie.
Yeah, unless it's $1,500.
Salamander, I believe I hear an echo of myself in your.
Oh shit! All right, hold on. I don't have any headphones, so
Yeah.
Yeah, I
like
kind of have a question for everyone. If that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you guys think, because I find this interesting, do you guys think that the hate against what's going on with Last of Us is justified? Because like it was a huge thing.
I just think
yes and no.
I think it's justified for you.
Unfair against
it's literally
the
a reverse
because
Suicide Squad.
they're
That's
jaded
how
by it.
The thing is,
I know a lot of people are really bummed about not being able to play as a certain character they planned on playing on. And I think that's valid.
I don't know how they were gonna play as him. He was literally 60 years old. Like, get over it.
How old is
no spoilers.
Sam Fisher?
Oh yeah.
Sam Fisher was like 60,
I
55.
really liked the game. Like I liked what they were going for, but I do understand people who didn't like it as well.
Yeah,
like if they
they're the kinds of choices I would really applaud more in a movie. I'd be like, wow, they went there.
Or like a game that was like not a direct sequel to what they set up in the first game.
Well, you nailed it. You said that it should have been the third game, and I completely agree.
I mean, yeah, because that's a way of being like, okay, it's over, no coming back, sort of thing.
We've exhausted everything.
Yeah, like that's a way, or even just have certain story elements show up later within the same game. Just like there's too many things about The Last of Us 2 that just did not work narratively in a satisfying way. Like, sure, you can argue that they're challenging, but they don't feel deserved or earned. It's more just like, oh wow, you subverted my expectations, but the narrative goal for doing that, like the emotional goal that's supposed to come with that, wasn't really effective, unfortunately.
Well, and I like how you put that because I feel like we missed a second act.
I think
we really did.
Execution for like, I think the execution for like the plot points that they tried to present worked for me, like for the most part. But I do understand why people wouldn't feel the same way. Like there are other people like.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked for some people. I wish it worked for me.
I just don't get like it worked for me like 100%. So I don't like maybe it's just me because I just don't get it. Like
it's not just you. There's tons of people that feel that way.
Yeah.
It's a very polarizing game.
And you still gave it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't hate it
because it's like something that was super anticipated, and it has to be like,
it was so fun just like seeing it just argue with chat all the time because of what was happening.
So that's the thing is, I like The Last of Us Part 2. There were some parts I didn't like. There were some parts I really liked. And there's some parts I completely forgot. So
I will
100% controversy just arguing the quality of the game. Is that it?
I think the story itself is great. I couldn't compare it to the.
See, this is
one,
important because different people gave it scathing reviews for completely different reasons. Some people did say it was the gameplay, and other ones it was mostly the story.
My
I
biggest
mean, at
complaint
the end of the day, you
was-
like what you like. There's always going to be someone out there who dislikes it, and if you enjoy it, that's what matters more than anything. Like, that's the beauty of art. It's subjective at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the people like this conversation of The Last of Us winds up bringing out a lot of people who are trying to invalidate or delegitimize someone else's experience or perspective on the game, and it's
Some
coming from
people
both
think that-
directions, and it's really annoying.
Some people think that there is one objective quality to something, and that's something that I needed to learn by myself, just watching stuff. It wasn't like experiencing stuff, it was more like there is one objective level of quality to what I'm watching or experiencing or whatever, and my mission is to find it rather than forming my own subjective experience. And people think that their own subjective experience is like what they specifically discovered to be the one true level of quality for something, and they
like the Peaky Blinders is just objectively good.
Like the what?
Some show.
Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders. Oh,
yeah.
People keep bothering me about that show. Just I can't be bothered.
Well, I'm gonna bother you on top of it. So.
Speaking of
Peaky Blinders, I don't know what that is.
It's a good little.
The greatest show ever. Killian
No,
Murphy.
it's it has Tom Hardy too.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Tom Hardy's
Oh,
fantastic.
I wasn't sure if you were saying it sarcastically or not.
No, legitimately, it's my all-time favorite show ever. But
I'll watch this.
But I mean, I was just making the joke about objective. Like, yeah, it would be easy.
Killian Murphy.
Good. If you don't like it, you're wrong. Yeah, it's oh my god.
7
it's so
seasons,
good.
Jesus. Oh, it's still going.
That's not true.
Yeah.
There's only 5. They should be working on 6 right
What?
now.
It's listed on
Maybe
IMDb.
looking at a
but-
projection because it's a mini series and he does have plans for it to end. So maybe they've projected 7 seasons.
So the thing I was gonna say, sorry to interrupt. It was
No, I
just
interrupted
Go
you.
for it.
I'm sorry, it was my fault.
I interrupted all.
I was just gonna say, like, you know, can I say the segment and the character's name?
What?
Like,
for what?
just
Sounds like spoilers.
Last of Us Part 2.
I mean,
I love
just
the
try
reaction,
try
just
try
right.
to say your
Try not-
opinions
I'm not
on
gonna
something
spoil it.
without spoiling it. Is what I'm saying.
I was just gonna say, I think Abby's segment lasted way too long.
Yeah, I think it was too long.
Salamancer, we still hear some echoing in your.
Yeah,
mic.
man.
Yeah.
too.
But just
Sorry.
like
I
I don't think like it was. I don't think the idea of her segment was as good as it should have been, but I think it worked for me overall. Like it worked just enough. for me
It had
to
its
just
own perks.
Care about it.
I will say that I'm completely biased in not giving any part of the new shit like any credence because I did not like the 2 catalysts like I mentioned earlier.
Mhm.
I just
Yeah,
was not
that's
willing
fine, that's
to
fine.
give the game
That's fine.
the chance on its merits because I did not like those 2 events.
Yeah.
As somebody who has not played
I
The
did-
Last of Us
what
2,
I did like-
hasn't seen anything,
What I really
doesn't
did
know
like that
anything,
isn't spoiler talk is the settings that they showed in Tommy's Town and the 2 main like games that there are. Those settings were pretty cool, and that's what I always like seeing in Apocalypse is people rebuilding. That was one thing I really liked in the art design.
Yeah. As somebody who hasn't played it, doesn't know anything about it, but has played the first game, but not that that's relevant to my point. I think it's nice that there's something that's so popular, that's so completely divisive. I don't like that there's entitled people shoving their opinion down other people's throats, but it's been a while since something this mainstream had this many different valid opinions talking about it.
Have you ever heard
I think
Yorgos
maybe
Lanthimos
The Last
talking about?
Jedi was the last one to fit this catalyst, but I think this
I
is
don't
even
know.
more
I
so
didn't hear
than
that
The
many
Last
people
Jedi.
supporting it.
I thought Kingdom Hearts 3 would
Most
do that.
people
That-
hated
that-
Last Jedi. I think.
Yeah, I don't feel like that was very divisive. Everyone kind of,
Speaking of
There were people who liked it, like I hate
one after
everything
that
liked it.
was quite
Oh,
long.
really? Okay.
His opinion of it has gone down over time, is my understanding.
Yeah, at the time.
Hey, at the end of
You know what? I was the same way though. When I first watched it, I was like, okay, fine, it's whatever. It's like I don't expect a lot, so it's fine. And it's gone down since then. I'm like, no, actually, it is kind of bad. They could
It's
have.
probably because of Rise of Skywalker. Just
At the end of
because
Rise
they
of
don't do
Skywalker,
anything.
was I the only one who was like
I don't even
jaded
know where you
when
got Star Wars from.
fucking Ray said, "I'm Ray." 25 seconds.
I've honestly
45
never. I've
Yeah.
honestly never.
Skywalker.
They're only
Like, why
Well, I know,
not
she should-
Solo? Your
There's
father
I know,
figure was
I
Han
totally agree.
Solo, and your lover was fucking.
Well, or it
Yeah.
could be Organa.
Solo!
She was hanging out with Leia the whole time.
I'm
like,
glad I
trying to
watched
get
the
Organa.
pinata cut.
Whatever.
He was
The
The other thing
Honestly,
too is that the whole
Honestly-
point of the story was like embrace who you are. So I really think she should have said, "I'm Rey Palpatine, and I'm taking that name
Oh.
back, just like the Skywalker name has been taken."
Yeah.
that name
Yeah.
back.
It's just
Or
more
just
Honestly,
Rey.
the problem.
That's it.
The problem that I have
Honestly,
with
I've never-
Or
Rise
she
of
could have been proud
Skywalker
about
is
her
that
last
they
name.
use these
and
plot
brought a
points
better name
that they
to it.
never really teased in the previous ones. They just do it.
Yeah.
Well, because they didn't do a
Yeah,
whole
because it
story
was a
all the way.
It wasn't a
Mess,
Well,
nobody knew what to do.
It was just
Yeah.
wing it.
I
I
don't
did a
care
D&D
enough about
campaign
Star
like that
Wars
where
to
we
watch it a
swapped
second
campaigns.
time. So
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, Adam, speaking of slightly
Adam,
divisive
don't.
things, I saw on your IMDb profile that you didn't really like First Cow, but are you doing a quickie of it?
I don't think I have enough to say about it to like justify making a quickie on it, because I was just like,
How did you watch it?
I was just kind of like uninvested and zoned out. So
Yeah, a lot of people really
Why?
liked it though.
The
on,
trailer
like,
didn't
Rotten
grab me.
Tomatoes and stuff.
yeah,
Interested to hear what
yeah,
you
I
had to
get
say
it.
What
about
is it?
It's a
But-
million-dollar question. Why weren't you invested?
because it was a very, very slow story that didn't feel like it just didn't feel like much was happening. I wasn't really connected to the characters.
Did it feel low stakes?
I was in it for the first like half hour, and then just like nothing really interesting happened until like the end, pretty much. And by that point, I was already like super checked out.
I mean, it is a directorial debut, and I try
What?
to give more credit for those.
First cow?
was the
No, it's
Witch.
not.
It's not a
It's
directorial.
not.
No, it's
from the
not.
same
Not at all.
directors, Wendy and Lucy.
No,
and
it's not.
all right.
Yeah,
I thought-
she's directed like
no,
3
no.
other
Kelly
things.
Reichardt. Kelly Reichardt.
Boo that man.
Have you seen her?
Oh, I
other
thought it
works?
was.
It's her. Have you seen her other works? I think she's done like Meek's Cutoff or something.
Yeah, I tried watching Meek's Cutoff, and I wasn't into it. Also, Wendy and Lucy I liked when I was much younger, and I haven't seen certain women yet. Wendy and Lucy was something that like I think I would still like, is in kind of like almost a guilty pleasure way, just you know, like the indie like super low production value. Like Michelle Williams is great, but there was one scene, like the most memorable part of the movie for me, and like I watched this when I was much younger, but the most memorable part of the movie for me was like when they were at the campfire and a girl was talking who was clearly not an actor, and she sucked so bad. And it was just like the most distracting thing in the world of just like, wow, you can't act.
So you
And it was
just-
like a side character that never shows up again, but it was still it's still
I'd like to
distracting.
imagine that it was just
Sorry.
some of the.
So you
the
just give it a
songs.
6 then?
Sorry to
I
interrupt.
believe that's my
It's
rating.
Great talking with y'all.
Hey,
and I'm
get
getting
you
ready
out
to
to
head
know.
out to work.
It's weird, but
Hey,
there's
have fun at
some
work.
movies where I just
Appreciate it. Y'all have a
I
great
can't
day.
even like say
Have a good
why
one.
I'm not invested.
Hey,
Oh,
I got a
let's
question
leave
for
it.
everyone.
Sure.
I've been
Yeah.
thinking lately about
Sure.
how, if you guys may have noticed, that shows that are straight up teen dramas, kind of like Gossip Girl, Dawson's Creek, The OC, those kinds of things, I feel like that they haven't gotten rid of them. They've just repackaged them, and they're all of our superhero, like high concept media now. So now it's going to be like The Magicians or like The Chilling Tales with Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, or whatever. And it's all the
Mhm.
same plot beats that you have in like high school teen dramas, but now they're just all high
Yeah.
concept.
13
What was
Reasons
that?
Why.
What was
13 Reasons
Does
Why?
that count in that?
What was
That's
that
actually
fucking,
it's a counterpoint against me, but it's so insane it might as well be high concept.
It
Mhm.
could be true. What was
My
that fucking
sister's
Teen
like
dramas
really
will
into
always
Sabrina
exist. As long
show.
as there's teens, there's going to be teen dramas. There's going to be people who try to market to them. Some more
What
successfully
was
than
that?
others.
What was that shitty Archie teen drama?
Riverdale?
Riverdale.
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 That's
Riverdale.
hilarious.
Part of
because
It's part of what I'm thinking
Okay,
about.
I'm
Even
not gonna
like
lie.
the-
I did like the first season just a little bit because it had a good mystery to it. And I was like, yeah, this is too shitty though.
But you know what's fun about that is like, who is that for? Because anyone old enough to know Archie Comics isn't going to want to watch it, and anyone
What's
young
funny-
enough to want to watch it doesn't know what Archie Comics is.
I just saw
It's-
a
it's
Kyle
for-
Moore
it's for
video.
getting
All I know about the
approved.
show is
It's for getting funded
yeah.
because you can't get
By
funded
boomers.
without basing yourself on a previously existing IP anymore.
Pre-sold
Yeah.
audience. Yeah.
It's
So
the
like you
weirdest
could,
thing.
like
it could be
Holograms
like they
the
didn't
movie.
even want to make a
but it
fucking
doesn't
Archie
really
show.
work
Maybe I don't
anymore
know.
unless you market
And then
to
they just made it
children.
Archie. That's fair.
My
Like
sister
Terminator
actually
Dark
made me
Fate
watch like
Bond, for example.
my
If-
sister had me
if
watch
you
like the entirety
fail,
of
if
that
you don't
Sabrina
succeed,
show.
if you don't know what you're doing, I feel maybe it's just me being optimistic, but I feel like just rehashing the same franchise again doesn't work as well as it used to. Like, sure, there's still stuff like Toy Story 4, and apparently the highest grossing film of the year is Bad Boys for Life. But yeah, there's still I feel like just rehashing old franchises is something that doesn't work as well.
I talk about this a lot. I think it's going to go away because I think, like, if I say, oops, did I do that? Almost everyone in this room should immediately know that's Steve Urkel, right? But all of us had, in the 90s, we all had to watch the same handful of TV programs and listen to the same handful of radio shows. So what's happened is that after you get to the aughts, the 20-year cycle starts to fall apart because everyone had streaming services and they had their own individualized content to watch or consume. And so I know more Britney Spears songs than I know Lady Gaga songs because I didn't have to listen to Lady Gaga. And so I think we're going to run out of that rehashing because what's going to be the Ghostbusters of the aughts that people are going to be like, oh, we got to rehash all that stuff from the aughts.
Yeah, there's like a
everyone...
select few things that break through, but
I think there's a breakdown of that 20 years.
I gotta go.
Rehashes.
I'll see you guys later.
Have a good one.
I mean, there's recognizable IPs from
You know what the
aughts
funny
that they
thing
can
about
still
the
rehash,
Chilling Adventures
like The
of-
Matrix or something. They will probably.
I mean, there's a Matrix 4 coming out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're
It's
doing that
huge.
now. They're
But that's what I'm
rehashing
saying,
stuff
though,
from
is like
the 2000s now.
the problem is that no one in 20 more years, no one's going to want to rehash the Ghostbusters 2016. So it's like, are we still going to be going back to like 50 years ago, 40 years
it's
ago?
an
Like,
endless
that's what I'm
time
saying,
loop.
it's
People
gonna break
already
down.
rehashed the Halloween rehash, but did people?
Right,
like
but I'm
the
just saying that
Halloween
everything right now is a
rehash?
rehash. Like, what's the new original IP being made that will be remade?
Parasite.
Parasite.
No.
Well, class discrepancy
Yeah, they're
will
already
become
doing a
only more of an
TV
issue.
show.
So.
They're
The
already
problem is
on the
that
bandwagon.
Parasite won lots of awards, but obviously it didn't have like the in the television in the living room power that like a Ghostbusters did.
What do you mean?
You know, Inception.
It was highly Parasite was insanely successful.
I didn't even know it
Yeah,
won Best
yeah,
Picture until I watched it. I just like, hey, that was a really good movie.
Was
I
it?
should go
Do
show
you
this to
think
them.
it was successful on the rates of like the Indiana Jones and like Raiders of the Lost Ark and stuff? Do you think it?
Is it gonna
Probably
be a
not as
part of
successful as Indiana Jones, but I mean,
I'm just thinking about like the kinds of properties we remake tend to be like in the top 1% of like success.
You know,
yeah, well,
really
they're gonna have to reach outside that.
Did
And
they
that's what I
make an
think. I think they may
AT2
even
yet?
become really niche. Like it'll be like, hey, for everyone who is a scene kid, here's a movie that you'll get, but it
Mm.
won't be as broad.
I'll make that
but I
movie.
do kind of have to wonder,
Yeah, let's
like,
do it.
I love
Are we
Parasite.
talking about
but I
that?
kind of have to wonder why mainstream audiences liked it as much as they did, because it was like kind of.
Parasite?
It's actually
It was
it's good.
very accessible.
It was incredibly
it's accessible.
Super
disjointed
accessible.
in some parts, and yeah,
Yeah,
more-
never
That was my
like-
main point against it. Is like
It wasn't
there
the
was no
master.
foreign.
And it never like
dissonance in it
bashes
at
you
all.
over the head with its anti-capitalist message.
I don't know. I think it does
Never,
kind of
like,
bash you.
preachy.
Oh yeah, my dad.
Well, it's
My
never,
dad's
like,
pretty wealthy, and he was like, dude, I didn't
don't think
like
it's
it
ever
too
really
much, but I did it.
preachy
Well,
about
I made a whole video about how I think it's generally never the right answer to start with a message you want to make and then to wrap a movie around it, you know, haphazardly. That's how you get a lot of the really preachy, annoying movies. But Parasite breaks that rule and still nails it. And so it's like, I think you can start with the message as long as you do still
because it
masterfully make a
expands
great
on
movie.
the message.
Yeah, but like Charlie's Angels, the new Charlie's Angels, they obviously just wanted to have a message that they wanted to get across, and then they threw a movie together, you know, last
Same
minute.
thing
But
with
the
the
message
Black
was
Christmas
shallow. It's that
movie.
girl's
Or
good.
Ghostbusters.
I saw
Have you
reviews
seen
of
the
that
new
movie,
Black
and I know
Christmas
the message
movie?
was
I've
shallow.
heard.
That's why
How
they
about the
don't
Black
new
Christmas
Black
movie?
Christmas movie?
I know. I
Yeah,
decided not to watch
Panther.
it.
I think
I
it's
heard about
Yeah,
it
it all
though.
depends if you have something to say. That's what determines quality. If you have something.
See, I disagree. I think you can have a great point. I don't
Like
disagree
Charlie's
that girls
Angels
are.
didn't have much to say besides.
But what I had to
appealing
say, I
women.
agree with. It's just that the movie still sucks.
You know,
Like you still
I
have
think,
to make a good movie is the problem.
Yeah.
I think
You
that
have some. Yeah, but saying women are good is not something that's incredibly intelligent. And
Well, I don't
what
know. I mean,
makes
saying that capitalism
difference-
is bad isn't
what-
all that much more nuanced either.
Have you
yeah,
guys
what
noticed a
differentiates
lack
good
of
movies from
motherly
bad movies
figures
is
in
how they
movies?
elaborate on that message and how they get into the little details of why they even think this message in
Right,
the
but I
first
think that's in the
place.
movie.
Yeah, it's like it's more of a
Yes,
narrative
exactly.
character thing rather than a
Right.
like a message thing.
when
And
having
Neil, what did
a-
you ask? You asked about
I-
mother
funny
figures.
thing is
That
about-
too.
when
But,
having
like,
a big
it-
message in your film, I think it's okay to be like unsubtle because I feel like with a film like I don't know what a good example would be, but I
Snowpiercer.
guess yeah, Snowpiercer, but I guess Do the Right Thing is a good example, like because although it's pretty obvious what it's saying, but I think it's more or less about having a reenactment of real life. I
Oh yeah,
guess.
Adam, that reminds me. Have you seen Da 5 Bloods yet? The new Spike
No.
Lee movie.
I'll watch it in like 2 years or something.
I'm not a big Spike Lee fan. So that's
2 years?
I liked it.
Why?
I don't
Why
know,
wait
because
that
that's probably
long?
when I'll be making my 2020 list.
No, it's gonna.
I'll watch it when I have to.
Watching now. I mean, I want to see it a lot.
Want to see what?
What's stopping you?
The Five Bloods.
He's waiting for
I
you.
don't know. I guess.
Oh,
It's
is that
nothing
is
really.
that,
validation.
that Christoph
Gotta
Waltz
review it.
Quibi movie come out yet?
Christoph Waltz what movie?
I don't know. Quibi.
Quibi. I can't remember
Oh,
the name of it.
yeah, I don't
Like
think I'm
Liam
ever going to
Neeson.
watch a Quibi thing.
Yeah, there's
Ever?
a,
Who cares about
there's,
Quibi?
Well,
it's
because
literally- there's
I
a
would have to download
Christoph
Quibi to
Waltz.
watch it, that's why, so...
Yeah, no joke, right? I know, yeah.
That's
I'll
that
watch it.
thing
You would have
Katzenberg made, right?
dirty yourself.
Was it Katzenberg who made Quibi?
Yeah, apparently Jeffrey
Yes.
Katzenberg
Oh,
made
that's funny.
Quibi.
I didn't know that.
That's hilarious. I
I brought that
know,
up on
yeah.
the last Hangout, and it's
Hello,
really
hello.
fucking funny. Like,
Welcome.
Yeah, we brought it up last time. Hi, Mackenzie's iPhone.
We did. I don't remember.
Hello.
Hello.
There's like 2 Spike Lee movies that apparently nobody has seen, and it's the one right before Old Boy, and it's the one right after Old Boy.
Did anyone see
Which
Old
is,
Boy?
I mean...
No. What? No.
No, Adam did.
No. I mean, the 2 Spike Lee movies that nobody talks about is the one that came out in 2012 and one that came out in 2014.
Which are?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's right surrounding Old Boy, and it's strange. It's like the late 2010s, like the early 2010s, were easily the worst time.
Is that when he gave up?
Spike Lee?
Let's
They're called The Sweet Blood of Jesus and Red Hook Summer.
Yeah.
They have like 1,000 ratings on IMDb. Nobody watched them.
Spike Lee, huh? Are you sure he's not just like a producer?
No. he directed
Red
them.
Hook Summer he directed, and then... Yeah, he
The
directed
Sweet
both of
Blood
these.
Jesus.
Yeah. And they both have like bad ratings on Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean, like,
so
he's...
that's probably why people
I think
didn't
he's
vote for
overrated,
him.
dude.
He's got like
He's
household name
influential, but that doesn't
status,
mean it's-
and I mean you can attain that if you just put your name in front of every movie you make, right? If you're moderately successful in every single film,
Spike Lee joint.
yeah, a Spike Lee joint, or like Tyler Perry's
Jason
Medea
Derulo.
or whatever, like people know his name. So
Doesn't work with Shyamalan though. They try to hide him for After Earth.
yeah, but
If you
he's
become
still a household
infamous
name.
too-
That's the twist, man.
Yeah.
That's the twist.
Yeah, that was just Sony being smart.
That movie drives me crazy because I think it had so much potential
I'd
to be
like
good.
to imagine
After Earth?
Shyamalan's face to
After
me.
Earth,
In what way?
Every sci-fi
all right, in
movie
this way.
has potential. Every high
At the
No,
end credits,
I don't
it's
know.
like,
There's
no,
background
no, no, no.
potential.
No,
Does
the
not
reason
have
I think After Earth
potential.
could have been good is I think that just what they sell you in the trailer is actually pretty interesting. The idea
That M. Night
the
didn't
Earth has
direct it?
evolved. Yes, exactly. It's in there. It's just at the end. The idea that the Earth has evolved in such a way over a very long period of time that everything is designed to kill us, and then these guys have to do an emergency evacuation onto Earth, and he has to get from the tip of the plane to the tail of the plane. So that's a point A, point B. The problem is they muddied all of that up now with like, oh, but there's also aliens, and the aliens created monsters, and that's what's on this planet. And I think there could have been a really interesting, almost like, who did The Fly?
And
Cronenberg?
there's also Will Smith being like,
Yeah, it could have been like a
"Tonight,
Cronenberg,
sit
like
down."
Earth monsters of like it's him literally having to go from like section to section of like monsters.
But-
now, they
but
kinda
Sounds
did
like the
that.
best case scenario for that is just a decent thriller.
But the creatures evolved to kill humans while humans were absent from the planet.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
in my version, that would have
doesn't
happened.
make
That's why we
sense,
had
I know.
to.
It's like they evolved to
In
kill
my
a
simpler
species that
version.
wasn't there.
Right.
And
That
over
should have been what
1,000
pushed
years
us because they
only.
made it where it was like
Okay.
pollution or something. That should have been what kicked us off. Was that after so long, the Earth has finally gotten so good at killing us
Yeah,
that we
it
had to
becomes
leave. We're like, all right,
Yeah, and
Yeah,
the
instead
whole
they're like, it was
idea that
pollution.
like the alien
was
and
plants.
aren't able to like track us if we don't have fear or
yeah, right. That's
something
so
is
dumb.
so
That's
stupid.
so dumb. Just no monsters. We don't need aliens.
I
Earth- the monkeys and stuff is
disagree
already cool.
that it had the potential to be something better because I'm like
Who made it?
I mean the version that we got the version that we got is like the only version I want to see. It's hilarious.
Well, that's how I feel about 13 Reasons
Could have
Why.
been decent.
Anything I could do
But
to
that's like
technically
every
make 13
movie with
Reasons
a
Why
high
better would
concept,
actually
in
make
my
it worse.
Yeah.
Actually, when I heard about this movie, I thought that it was based on a documentary in the middle of the 20s. It was called, I don't remember the name, Life After Us. It basically is an History Channel documentary that recreates the Earth if everyone just disappears out of nowhere. It's hypothetical, just the cities all turn into forest, the pets escape, the don't die escape, etc., etc. So almost post-apocalyptic, but with scientific backup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
And that's the thing, to go on that 13 Reasons Why thing.
Uh-huh.
And I guess the question is how do you talk about suicide without sounding preachy or like a selfish ass?
Well, that's what they did. They ended up making a show that most people don't want to make because it's the responsibility is so high to be respectful, and they did it in a very hold my beer kind of way.
Well, the first season was literally just like based off of the source material of the tween book, right? And so they were just like, okay, let's just do the book. Like, I don't think they gave a shit about the message behind it. I think that they were just capitalizing off of like a popular teen novel.
Gael was bringing up a great point, though. In the future, other shows may learn to do what they did because everyone's talking about it.
Them that just did it correctly. There's a bunch of stuff. I can't mention them because every example I can think of for suicide done well is a spoiler. But in that, but usually good films about suicide, they build up to the depression. They build up to that. The suicide or suicide attempt is something that it builds up to and it earns.
I know. Can I defend Life is Strange for a minute?
No.
But why?
Kate Marsh thing really well.
Wait, I just want to say I know a movie that does suicide actually really well.
Life is Strange.
Is it a spoiler?
Well, once I say the title, it's I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called Cyberbully.
Oh God.
Fuck, man. I was just gonna say, Kate Marsh's segment, I'd have to say, was really well built up, and I think that's my favorite thing out of the
Kate
entire.
Marsh? Is that the mom?
No, she was the Christian.
Kate is the girl who tries to jump off of a building.
In what?
Yeah.
In Life is Strange.
I'm thinking 13 Reasons. I'm like, who the
No.
hell?
It's the same thing.
No, she was like at a
I think it was on the precipice of being effective. At least
well,
for
the
me.
thing is, here's the thing though. Like, I
and she
never
tried to offer
felt the
herself.
need to do a podcast and talk about the
I
OC
thought
or
chapter
something
2
like
of
that.
Life is
So I
Strange
think it's gonna be
actually had
interesting
some
to see if everyone
potential merit.
copies 13 Reasons Why and makes all their shows batshit now.
Yeah.
And that's the
yeah,
thing
it's so
is-
funny to see in like Patrice Wilson's silence video when it was like not 13 Reasons Why.
Mhm. He's not saying it's not the OC.
So I don't know if AOK, this guy who's been helping me out, I think we've done stuff. I don't know. I'm sorry if you're in the here, man. I never recognize your face at all. But he was helping me write my stuff, and I've been helping him too. And he's kind of like the messages I've been putting in my stuff because I try to find ways around it without saying it so directly. Because saying stuff directly comes off as this ham-fisted nightmare, and you got to find ways in order, to look at it. You got to find a way to,
It's kind of funny. That's tough because I think as a general rule of thumb, it's good to not say things too overtly. But on the other hand, obviously there's always exceptions to everything. So like the network, I think, it's fantastic. That whole, that speech, gentleman gives of, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Like all of the stuff he says up to that point are extremely on the nose, but it's almost a subversion of hearing someone just actually say the things. And you're like, yeah, you know what? That is true.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's literally, network. I haven't seen it in a while, but that's kind of what's happening now. People tune into. Has anybody seen that ContraPoints video about stands or whatever? She talked about how people are obsessing over Christian Weston Chandler to the point where he's
The cringe video?
possibly the most well-documented person in history, and it's just a way for people to reflect on their own lives, whether I'm glad I'm not this guy or I identify with this guy. Network is just people exploiting that idea, saying it's a person having a mental breakdown.
Yeah,
and
like
the network in charge of that person just puts them on TV because it gets them ratings. And
Yeah, I think that Black Mirror episode from season 1, I think, was doing kind of that.
Which one?
The million credits one.
Yeah. Actually, I was thinking
Season
about it. I think
3,
my favorite.
right?
What? I thought that was the first season.
I think my favorite episode.
Are you talking about the one with
The
Am I
guy has a cycle. They're underground.
Oh, never
They have
mind.
the singing
Are they
competition.
underground?
Yeah, never mind. I
don't
confused
know.
it with a different episode.
Do you guys want to talk about
I'd like to
I would have to
question
revisit it
about
again.
Black
I'd have to
Mirror.
like see a clip.
Well, let me get an extremely quick synopsis. It's this black guy. They live in a credit-based system where you have to cycle.
He's like on a
underground
treadmill
to
or something,
power
right?
everything. You nailed it, right? And
Yeah.
what happens is he goes to a singing competition and he does.
Was that Daniel
network scene where
Kaluuya? Kaluuya or
is that
something?
his name? Is that the guy from? It's the gentleman from Get Out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the name.
Yeah. And he gives a big speech like the network of just how this is our society and I'm just telling you exactly what it is. And rather than like kill him or something and let him be a martyr, they just give him his own show and then they pull him into the first class.
Yeah, it's been a
so that he
long
stops
time since
complaining.
I've seen that.
Yeah, but it was just that same idea with the network where it was like, oh, he's acting zany, let's give him more screen time because it's ratings. The difference is like, or not the difference, the similarity is that they're both saying like truth. You know, they're not just being wacky, they're actually like speaking, you know, about exactly the societal issues.
Oh yeah, Adam, I'd like to ask you a question about Black Mirror. I mean,
Sure.
I've heard that the most recent season isn't as good. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I saw it. There were some good episodes. There were some not as good episodes. I think season 3 is still my favorite.
Yeah.
What did you think of the episode where they were stuck in the car?
Oh, was that like the hostage one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that one was kind of dumb.
Oh, really?
How about the one with Miley Cyrus?
It was a great cut.
Fuck
that one.
That one was all right. It wasn't.
I didn't like
I didn't
season
hate her.
It made Child's Play look like a fucking masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly thought Black Mirror kind of lost its touch in season 5. I don't know.
They're getting.
Oh,
I mean,
should I go check
they
it
need to
out?
make more
I've
episodes.
heard like season 1
like,
was good, and then I never heard anything about the rest of the show.
Yeah,
they need to make more episodes like Metalhead.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like they're just exhausting their ideas at this point.
How far
Yeah,
can you make
that's-
technology scary?
Mm-hmm.
I think
That's
they're
the
like
deal with
planning to-
shows. I respect shows that know.
Deal with robots.
Or how far in your friend can you get in VR? Like seriously.
Oh, that was so good. That was the best.
I think they're planning to like make a book of short stories based on the
A
Black
book?
Mirror show. I could be wrong.
Again,
Oh, they made a card game based off of that Bryce Dallas Howard episode.
Nice.
There's
But
a
here's
movie.
the deal.
Sorry.
It's okay. I liked 2 episodes of Black Mirror really well, and it was Nosedive and Metalhead. Metalhead was phenomenal. in my
Metalhead felt like too much of a specific dig against Boston Dynamics to me.
No, I wouldn't say it. I tried to take that.
The dog is
aspect
almost
out.
exactly the same as Spot.
Maybe.
What
But-
season was Metalhead from?
But it adds this
the-
tension that I really
think 3
love.
maybe.
It's not the black and white. It's just that it has no soundtrack to it. I don't think.
I'd have to see it
That's
again.
Very interesting.
I
Yeah,
would
I
say
think
the
that's
Something that Takeshi. I think that's something that movie Audition also did. It's from the same guy who did Ichi the Killer and stuff. His
Yeah,
name is
Audition.
Takeshi Mike. I don't know if
Takashi
I'm pronouncing
Miike.
that right.
Audition has so much restraint for being from the guy who made Itchy.
The thing about Takashi Miike is like he literally he's a director that has this like weird philosophy where he doesn't even really think of transforming the source material, and he works with a lot of things that other people write, and so his philosophy is basically like, yeah, if it's a bad movie, that's not my fault. That's the like I made exactly what the writer wanted me to make, which is why
It's
there's
very wise.
like,
Wash your hands of it.
well, no, I mean, like, I think it's actually interesting that he's like less of a. He's kind of like a commissioner or like a vehicle for like the screenplays to exist in ways that
Yeah, it doesn't
like,
leave room for him to have much of a vision.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
always interesting. Like when I think of like the adaptation or Eternal Sunshine or Being John Malkovich, I always wonder like how much of that is Charlie and how much of that is Spike. Like,
Oh, it's I would say it's like
Yeah.
mostly Charlie for like
Yeah.
the writing.
Yeah,
I don't think
like
the
it's-
scripts
Yeah, I
get
mean-
changed that much in
Yeah.
those films because they're all so clearly him. like every other thing he's worked on that doesn't have anybody else working
I
on
keep
it.
laughing because I'm always hearing people talking about how nihilistic the Coen brothers are, and which fair enough. But I hear the, what do you call that? The Exhibit A is often No Country for Old Men, which is an adaptation.
Yeah.
Well,
Raising
that's the thing
Arizona
is-
wasn't nihilistic, yet that was done by the Coens.
The thing is,
Yeah, like I don't think
Oh Brother,
Fargo's
Where Art
nihilistic.
Thou?
Pretty much everyone gets their comeuppance.
Fargo's.
Well, The Big Lebowski was that nihilistic?
I loved Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
I'm not saying any of
haven't
these are
seen it
bad. I'm
yet.
just saying that I don't think that you can use an adaptation as a good example of their philosophy ending up in the movie, because it's just an adaptation of something that Bret Easton Ellis
like
wrote.
going after.
I mean,
I guess that's fair. You could make an argument that they chose it because of that.
This is a bit of a
that's the thing is I
think it's elite,
like
but you
Night in
could.
the Woods. I like Night in the Woods, but that doesn't go against my beliefs. So.
Oh,
Or I don't
I'm
let it
just
go
playing
against my
that.
beliefs. Yeah.
Night in the Woods, the game.
Yeah, it had
I'm
a
just
very
playing
like things are gonna end vibe to it. So
It was furry Life is Strange, but not bad.
yeah, very good.
That looks
Yeah,
like
so far
an
it's just charming and
interesting
fun. Don't
I loved
spoil.
it.
Yeah, it's a cute
I'm kind of
game.
excited for that
similar to
game,
Life
that
is
cat
Strange.
game by Anna. What is
For
it
the
called?
PS5.
By Swery?
Yeah. Well, no, they're like aren't they like a production company? Like Anaphoria? Or
Oh, I don't know.
What's it called?
What's the premise?
It's like the cat. It's the cat robot game.
Is it one of those
PS5,
trailers at the
whatever, something that
Sony
was announced
conference thing?
recently.
Yeah,
You're talking about
yeah.
Knack?
No.
Yeah, Knack 3.
No, it's literally made by like a movie production company that makes like.
Excuse
indie
me, are
hits.
you
It's like
using your
Cool
dog as a
Cat,
pillow?
Cool
Is it
Cat,
good?
the video game.
It's got to be Cool Cat, the video game.
Made
I
by
can't
Derek
remember the name.
Savage.
Here, I'm gonna look it up.
I would love to see a Derek Savage video game just to see how bad
It's
it
like
is.
Dude, it's just it will. Nah, I don't think it
He
will be
can do
entertaining. It'll
anything.
probably just be a shitty Flash game. That's all
Well,
can.
he doesn't have to
will-
make it. Just get someone else to,
That's
make
the only
it.
quality.
I would
that
like to
he can
imagine though
prove.
it has an intro of him like, "Hi, it's Derek Savage with Cool Cat Productions.
You know
I'm
me
here
from
to introduce
Playgirl.
my new game. It's or what would he call it? Like it's on the Unity
be Cool
engine
Cat,
or
blah, blah,
something
blah.
like that.
Cool Cat stops a school shooting should be.
No.
a video
Maybe
game.
that.
That's,
Maybe he'll
that-
finally tackle autism.
That's a
in video
concept that
game.
lends itself well to gameplay. I
Oh,
think.
Funky
cool.
edition.
Maybe
Yeah,
Cool
I
just
could
Cat
stop all
stops the
the school shooters.
coronavirus. It's a first-person shooter where you play as Cool Cat and you go around and you shoot coronavirus.
No, you shoot people infected with coronavirus. Very different.
So it's the
Jesus.
North Korea approach. So
Yeah.
I wonder if Derek
Yeah,
voted
but there
on
wouldn't be blood since the
You know,
Cool
Derek-
Cat is supposed to be for kids.
Derek
just
is
like
so
if you
weird to
turn
me.
on
You could just
because
make it
he seems
green.
so aware.
Like
of all
he doesn't
his,
know what's appropriate for kids and what
meanness,
isn't.
but it hasn't
Yeah.
completely ruined it yet.
Yeah, he was gonna have like the 420 award show be introduced by the Cool Cat guy.
Well, they're not homies
But-
anymore. I thought.
No.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
not.
it
They're
did.
not.
When
He's
the first
playing
420
Cool Cat now, he's
awards
gonna have to
came out, they
split
were
screen all the time.
still getting along, but then shortly afterwards, they got into this weird like copyright fight.
Neil Breen just seems interesting because he doesn't seem as aware. But Derek's obviously aware
Oh,
because he's constantly
He's
going to war with
aware-
everybody.
Neil Breen is aware and not aware at the same time. He's a Schrodinger's Spielberg, Schrodinger's
Mhm.
brain.
I actually finally watched Twisted Pair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
loved it.
I finally watched
Really,
some
man.
Neil Breen with my homies, and that was pretty funny.
yeah.
It's worth it.
He's the
is
best.
So worth it.
Gus Butstein.
Okay, so the people who are
I
doing
gotta
the
say, the
Stray game-
suicide line was my favorite.
Sorry.
I can't believe you committed suicide.
What are you
I
saying?
can't believe you committed.
He's
suicide.
just
the-
so
What was the last
disappointed.
Stray
He's
is
disappointed. He's not concerned.
Stray what?
Stray is being made by Annapurna, like that cat game.
Mm.
It's being made by Annapurna, who did like the Master and like other her
Smart.
I think too. And like so yeah, they're like so yeah, it's being made by like and this is like their first game, and they're
That kind of
Okay.
makes sense though, because I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
video game people want to make movies, and a lot of movie
Yeah.
people probably vice versa.
Yeah.
Like
I'm
Kojima.
both.
Yeah, Kojima obviously just wants to make
Yeah.
movies. Like I don't know why he doesn't just.
Yeah.
Are
do
you
it.
guys actually excited for the Metal Gear movie that's supposed to come out? Because the director
I didn't know that was a
actually
thing.
It's the
fucking-
first time hearing about it.
Oh, you
There's a
haven't?
bunch
It
of
was
heard about
Kong
it
Skull
a while
Island.
ago, but
Kong Skull Island director.
Oh.
They're
Summer.
making a movie out of everything.
Yeah, he got
It's so funny.
after he did Kong Skull Island, he had so many offers. He's like, "What do you want to do? We'll make it happen." And he saw notes for a Metal Gear movie, and he said, "I want to do that. I fucking love Metal Gear." So there is potential that Metal Gear Solid might actually have some Kojima love in it.
If he has some passion for it, then yes, that's.
Doesn't
that's
it feel like
thing.
Kojima
It'll
would
probably
put
be,
Kobayashi on that?
it'll
I
probably
do
be
not
at
know if it is
least
still happening,
interesting
though.
if it
I
has
heard
passion
this was
behind
like
it.
a year or two
It'll be
ago.
5 hours long.
I hope it is still happening.
Yeah,
one,
like
one scene will be 5
Probably,
hours long.
probably.
yeah, most
If
of
he
the
wants to fit the story of a Metal Gear game in a movie.
Well, this is all saying that he's doing it, which he's probably
There's
not.
something in the chat.
yeah. Well, most of these video game movies are so crappy that I don't really have much hope, not much hope for this one, but we'll see. Could be interesting.
That's a really good sketch.
Hey, those are great, man. I
It's
appreciate
weird
it.
that the best video game movies so far are.
I have a topic for especially
Sonic.
Adam, but
Wow,
it's
that's
on-
great sketch.
Yeah,
It's
that's the
on the topic
Shinigami
of
version of Adam.
actually putting yourself out there and doing something you want to do. Because for me, artwork wise, I was never able to do anything until, unfortunately, furry porn.
Nice.
Yeah, I've always been.
What is
ambitious.
this? The Merowitz stories?
I've always been ambitious and never been able to like do these big projects until literally this past 3 months. And I wondered if you had like similar experiences when you started out doing reviews, if you ever had trouble starting in like a long period of time that you knew that you wanted to do it, but you couldn't get it yourself out there, or thought it was shit, you like deleted videos or something along those lines.
Not particularly. I always kind of just, you know, just it was
Yeah.
less of like an obligation thing and more of just me like expressing myself anyway.
So from like, sorry.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I've had a lot of trouble like motivating myself to do things.
From like how long from the idea of YMS to Precious did it take? like
I don't know. Like I just started recording it. Like there wasn't any like
Yeah.
I don't know. I would like it's not like I was posting dumb skit videos on other channels. I was posting like my music and stuff. It's not like YouTube starting that channel was like a big leap. I already had several other channels before that.
Yeah, I just got into the idea that making comics or making like really good music, I just could never get over into it because I always kept doubting myself and just keeping a lot of shit like not public. It's like, oh, it's not good enough.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
not
I mean,
known
if you
out there,
need
and just
the time to like, if you're going to be critical of yourself and you need the time to practice and before you want to do things publicly, that's fine.
On the other hand, there's
But
been a
I
lot of
also-
benefit on YouTube for people who started just sucking and just were consistent.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, if you're more critical
Phil
of yourself,
DeFranco.
there's room for success.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like everyone starts out a little awkward at first, but then they like find their rhythm and stuff. And they get
A lot of OGs right now, if you go back and watch some of their first stuff, a lot of it's like borderline unwatchable and they're super embarrassed of
yeah,
it.
obviously.
And
I
it's
was
my
really
greatest
trying to
regret is that I
craft.
didn't just start and suck back like when I was 20.
Mhm.
And I kept waiting until, and it was like I was waiting for nothing. I should have just been consistent.
Yeah, because then it's like, what
Anybody
point
here
are you going to
seen
be
the
at
film
before
Whisper
you
of the Heart?
start? You know?
Yeah, I
Has
like,
anybody here
I
seen
write
Whisper of
movie
the Heart?
reviews on my own WordPress
No.
website, and I look back at some of the very first reviews I like submitted to Teen Inc. I mean, I can't submit them to Teen Inc. anymore because that website's like basically down.
Mhm.
You know, it's been down for a while, but I look at my old reviews and they're not great and stuff. But,
Yeah.
You know, but I think I've
Well,
gotten a lot better as I've gone along.
Anyone you probably think is awesome now has that exact same feeling about their early stuff.
Yeah, to articulate where I think my like bringing up that question was I was never confident in my writing. I always tried to get people to supplement it, and I just always thought they had lacking parts where I didn't like it, especially
Well-
making characters and writing them because it always sounded like themselves. So I just never would go through with these big projects I wanted to do because I always tried to pull someone in to write for me. And what I'm finding out now is I think I really need to focus on the writing because that is the major backbone of it all. And if I don't feel confident in it from other people's, then I need to deliver on it. Which
Yeah,
I
you can't
couldn't for
just
so many
outsource
years.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
When you do, you get
and it's
Blumhouse.
kind of funny because I look back at my older work. I still have it like sitting collecting dust in my Dropbox. I look through it and I just realized like my magnum opus, I call it the main antagonists were just like the Fourth Reich, like fucking Nazis. And I'm like, this is so fucking cliched. What I did instead was, America fell, and it's like the impact of the rest of the world. And
Even with ideas that I have in my head, like they slowly, like when I was a kid, I had an idea for a character, and now that character, like I didn't translate any of my ideas onto script or anything, not yet, but even in my head, like the idea for that character turned from unironic to ironic, from cool action guy to guy that's literally mentally deranged and doesn't care that he can't differentiate reality from
That's so much better.
illusions, because he just enjoys killing random people and forming his own action movie plot. He doesn't care if it's a delusion or not. He just enjoys it.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that's just an idea that I have in my head.
I don't think you should
yeah,
get too caught up in
just
originality
thinking about
either.
what kind of person you were a little bit ago. Even like I constantly think, what kind of cringy stuff am I doing now that I'll regret later? It can be kind of like uncomfortable and lead to anxiety, but
yeah,
like I tried to make a video. I constantly tried to get into YouTube video editing and never made anything good. When I think back on stuff that I uploaded when I was like very young, it's unwatchable. And now I have like better ideas of what is good and what isn't. But even still, I still need to learn skills. You always need to develop more like self-awareness, and that's why I mentioned Whisper of the Heart. It's something that kind of talks about this idea. It's a great Studio Ghibli movie. Adam, I know you don't like them that much.
What?
But I'm just saying.
Based on what?
What? You
guys don't remember when Adam said he hated all the Studio
You
Ghibli
said on like an episode of Sardonicast, the only films of theirs you really like are Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away.
Yeah, but I haven't seen all their films.
Yeah, their best films came out before Spirited Away.
Okay.
Like after Spirited Away, they became extremely corporate. Like The Cat Returns, they started trying to groom young talent, literally groom young talent. They thought, oh, Miyazaki and Takahata are probably gonna die. We need just to find some new visionary directors. So let's bring Miyazaki's son, who's not interested in filmmaking at all, who is like a decorative gardener, and let's have him make Miyazaki's passion project. And that became Tales from Earthsea, which is Studio Ghibli's least profitable, least popular film. And after that, they just tried it again and again, and now their films aren't as successful.
Well, Goro Miyazaki did make.
Well, they're successful, but I think they aren't as good.
Well, Goro Miyazaki did make From Up on Poppy Hill, which I thought was pretty decent.
Well, there's a guy I watch called Steve's Reviews, and he keeps referring to a good anime from Studio Ghibli, whatever you call them, called what is something of the Fireflies? I don't
Grave.
The Fireflies
is
one
of the that will fucking wreck your shit.
That's not Ghibli, though, is it?
That's one of my favorite movies ever made. I love it so much. So much. It's like, it's the best film I've seen from that entire decade. And 1988 is a really underrated year.
It is.
It's a really sad and depressing movie.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah, but it's not exploitative or anything. It's based on a genuine experience somebody had.
What's up, Augie?
Yeah, it's not really like The Painted Bird, which does seem to be gratuitous.
One at a time, one at a time. Augie had a question.
Yeah, tell us. Also, Salamancer.
Hold up. Order in the court. Really? Augie. You had a question.
Oh, I was wondering what you thought about like time travel and alternate dimensions in films.
I mean, there's only like 2 movies that have done it consistently.
Like, I know the 2.
Like Primer?
Primer and 12 Monkeys, pretty much. Yeah.
What about Donnie
Luca?
Darko?
You see that?
What about Donnie Darko?
Yeah.
What about Life is
I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, like the time travel in that movie doesn't really make any sense.
You have to like read a book. It's like infinitely complicated.
Yeah.
How about Back to the Future? You ever watched that, Adam?
No.
Which one?
No, I've never seen it, and I'm not like really interested.
You haven't seen Back to the Future?
No, no, I haven't.
It's a
I
lot
know
of
it's a
good fun. It's a
classic,
good
but
movie,
I
but
wasn't
it's good
alive in
clean
the
fun.
Think of its
80s,
time.
and every fucking movie that's like a classic from the 80s that people like gush over just turns out to be all right and fueled by like this
That's what I'm
gigantic
promising you.
nostalgia goggles shit. Also, Salamander, I'm
promising
echoing
you
in your
alright as well.
mic still.
The 80s that are inspired.
Seriously?
Turn out
Yeah.
quite a lot better.
Are you wearing headphones or not?
I think it might be interesting. to
No,
talk
I
about
don't
Sardonic
have
Cast,
any.
just
Buy
to see how
headphones.
You mute yourself when you're not
it's like
talking.
it.
That should
It's
help.
like pretty exclusively my voice. I don't know why. It's not there anymore though. but
Hold on.
Well,
It
your
wasn't
mouth is
echoing
annoying,
earlier.
He's
Adam.
got to hear you closer.
It's like every once in a
But
while.
the thing is,
Far away from the computer.
And I gotta ask
Everyone
this-
on Back to the Future isn't even that sensical. Like there's stuff you can analyze that doesn't make sense.
and
Well,
that's
it's
where
gonna
I
be
asked
that
the
way. I mean,
question.
Like the
if
fact
Back
that
to the
his mother
Future-
doesn't remember him.
I think it matters a lot with the kind of movie you're making. If you're making a primer, then getting the science at least pretty good or it believable is very important. But when you're making a Back to the Future, you're making a popcorn movie. And I think
Yeah.
Looper brought that point up pretty well, where they're like, we know what we are. So
Yeah,
we're not gonna
no,
focus too hard
I
on
get
making-
that, and it's like, yeah, there's a throwaway line where he's like, "It doesn't matter." Like that's
Yes,
obviously
right.
there for the audience, right? But I wish, despite that, and yeah, I still think that Looper is like a fine, okay film. But despite that, I wish that if you're going to have, regardless of whether or not it's time travel, if you're going to set up rules for the universe, follow the rules of the universe, and it
Yeah.
didn't.
within your own
Because
universe. I get
if,
that.
if I'm an audience member and I want to get sucked into the universe, you are harming my ability to do that when you don't follow the rules that you specifically set up. If I
It's
want to
the
be
same
into it and I'm like,
complaint.
okay, this
I
is
have
how
a question.
things work,
What separates
right?
a
Then
decent
it
movie
doesn't.
from a great movie.
Wait, I have a question. So Rian Johnson sent that script to Shane Carruth, and then Shane Carruth said that the time travel doesn't make sense. Did Rian Johnson actually take any advice from that though?
Probably not.
I think all he told him is it doesn't make sense.
And that's the
So he
thing I
probably
have
just
to
gave up.
ask. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I don't see why he would have.
you
He
watch-
probably added the Bruce Willis line after that, just saying
Yeah,
it doesn't
literally.
matter.
Literally.
Has anyone ever seen there's Donnie Darko's director? I can't think of his name. He made a movie.
Richard
I
Kelly.
don't know if it was Richard Kelly. He had
The
like
Box?
Southland Tales.
I don't remember the
The
I
Box?
don't remember the
Southland
name.
Tales.
He made a sequel of Donnie Darko.
He's made like
No,
3
yeah, there's
movies.
a
He's
sequel.
made like The Box and then Southland Tales after Donnie Darko.
Oh, I think it was Southland Tales. That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, we talked about it on
discussed it in
Sardonicast.
Sardonicast.
Oh,
I used
you
to
did?
wonder if
Okay.
Donnie Darko was pretentious, and now that I know he made Southland Tales, it's not good in its
Yeah.
direction.
No, I honestly
I
I,
really
I
love
still love Donnie Darko despite Southland Tales. But Donnie Darko was just a fluke, though.
Yeah, Southland
well,
Tales
it's
is
Just a
like
bunch of
revealing.
elements happening to
Yeah.
come together well.
I also
what I
saw it
think-
again, and it's not as good as I remember when I was a kid. I
I-
used to be super moody, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
It's a
now
perfect
that I think about it,
movie
it does
for
seem
like
edgy.
younger people.
Yeah, it's who I was. I was like that moody
Teenage
teenager who's
angst.
angsty. Yeah, exactly right.
I
I'm like,
think what
man, I wish
hap-
I could say that to
And,
my teacher.
You know, and that's where I have to ask the question: if movies like Back to the Future or Donnie Darko came out to this day, would they be as good? It's same
Well, do you mean like it
Came
just
out
got
today.
released?
What? I
same
don't.
premise, everything
Not
like
Scream.
that?
I know,
was
but do you
good,
mean a
like
remake,
from
or do you mean
Circus.
that it just got made like now?
Just got made.
I don't
I
think
don't-
either of those movies would do that great.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I told my brother. And Adam, this is kind of funny. My brother doesn't like you because you don't like Back to the Future. And I keep rationalizing.
I haven't even
No, but
seen
he
it.
just said
I'm
he
just
hasn't
like
seen
not
it.
interested. In the
Or
same
I
way that I
say
don't
no,
give a
like,
shit
I would
about
say you're
Star
not
Wars,
Sonic
you know?
Okay,
Yeah,
I
I
shouldn't have
think-
said that.
Yeah.
I told him you've never seen it and you're not interested in seeing it.
Well, yeah, because
doesn't
like if something is so engraved in pop culture that I know pretty much everything about it without having seen it anyway, then why should I watch it?
Well, when people
Well,
get
still
weird with
might
that
be
with
worth discussing on Sardonicast just to see what Ralph and Alex think about it.
And Adam, I think you know why. I think part of the point of those is that some movies are not necessarily. Some movies are roughly like spoiler proof, and they're just fun. And so it's like you can just go through the. I am completely missing any example to give you right now, but I know they exist.
There's
I want to
tons.
form my own connection with the movie. Like I had a hard time watching Psycho and Jaws because, specifically Psycho, because I already knew everything that was going to happen.
I think that's a
and
plot-heavy movie, though.
Yeah.
I can't form my own experience with it.
But I think, like for instance, like Smoking
Makes
Aces.
sense.
Once I knew the plot, like mystery points or whatever, I still really enjoy just
The Sixth Sense is still good, even if you know the twist.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, every single review of Psycho is like shower scene. Here's what happens. And
That's what happens with
here's the
Jaws.
character
I'm
who
so
dies.
frustrated because I think Jaws is actually
did you
pretty
see the
good
part
drama.
where Jaws walked into the shower room and just
Yes, yes.
stabbed someone?
I've
It'll
never
do for
seen,
ocean showers what
Yeah.
Frozen did for.
I've never seen the original
just grows
Old
a
Boy
human
before,
ass arm, just like.
but I've been spoiled of the twist ending. But so what I'm hoping to do is that like I'm waiting like in 10 years that hopefully I'll
Just
forget
forget.
about it.
Yeah.
Wait till
Yeah.
Neuralink
Repress
figure
it.
out, and then you can.
I mean,
go
it's
there
still a
and
great
erase
movie
it.
either way.
Great.
I think
know.
like,
I just want
I
like
want
a
the
really
twist.
fresh
I'm gonna
mind.
add that to my
The
movie.
thing is,
Yeah, I think
me-
the twist for Old Boy might have accidentally been spoiled for me too, because I was just scrolling through Letterboxd reviews of it, and somebody was just like, "Oh, here's what happens, and here's a twist," and I don't even know if they put a spoiler warning on it, and I was so mad.
I made my buddy watch
I hate
The
that.
Prestige, and he just guessed it while we were watching it, and it really cut
I
his
did
enjoyment
too.
in half.
And
that's
that's
the
They
why
did
I'm
too.
like,
I
They
guess.
put a-
It's why the
sometimes
twists are normally
movies just
impossible.
Can't resist, and they put foreshadowing that is so clearly foreshadowing.
Well, so for instance, like Ryan Johnson talked about that. He said the reason that he didn't want you trying to figure out what happened in Knives Out was because it generally is impossible. Most of those kinds of movies, they don't actually give you enough info to really figure it out because they don't want you to get prestiged. So
I'm
what
just
happened is he
saying.
wanted to tell you right away, so that's a totally different story. Now you're just following this girl.
I think I'm the
on
only
his
person.
arms.
I
And
think
that
I'm
was
the only.
wise.
Never saw Knives Out. Not
It's
really,
good.
but I know who done it.
I think I'm the only person who didn't like Knives Out, honestly.
My friend hates
Yeah,
it.
but the
I
thing
really
with
enjoyed it,
Psycho is not that I knew the plot details; I knew their execution also. That's
Yeah.
part
Sure.
of the problem.
I
I
don't
know
like
who
Rian Johnson's
everywhere.
done it and Knives Out, but I'm still gonna watch it and I'm still gonna form my own experience with it. I couldn't do that with Psycho.
What? And I
Yeah,
think he
like,
did a good
I-
job
that-
with Knives
it's-
Out of trying to give a different experience.
Yeah, someone's criticizing me in the chat over me not wanting to watch back in the future. And what I have to say about that is like, yeah, like
Fuck 'em.
it's not just like, oh yeah, I know what happens. It's like I in the same way that I could watch a trailer for The Lion King 2019 and be like, that doesn't look like an experience that I actually want. You know?
Gosh.
Like you can
That's fair.
look at the clips, you can look at the
Yeah,
trailers
that's-
and be like, I see what this is going for and I'm not up for it. Back to the Future is not like it doesn't look bad. It just looks really like boring and not my thing. As a person that also doesn't like Star Wars, as a person that also is just not interested in the vast majority of like 80s popcorn flicks that are just blockbusters that people have nostalgia goggles for. So I don't think it's
Yeah.
unreasonable for me to be like, okay, well, I have a pretty good idea what this is, and it doesn't look appealing to me. I don't think that's an
And I think you do.
unreasonable
Yeah,
call
I
to
think
make.
it's a fun movie.
And that's the
It's
thing,
a fun romp,
and-
but yeah, if you're not into it, it's not like, oh no, you're missing out.
Not to be
Yeah.
Mr. Writer here, but
yeah, I know that
No.
kind of.
I'm an
stinks.
aspired writer, and I have to say that the writing in Back to the Future really isn't that spectacular. It's a fun,
Well,
nostalgic movie, but it's not all that
yeah,
great.
kind of
And
fun.
again,
It's
if it were to
okay.
come out in
It's fun.
2020, it
Well, that's
would
what I'm
be
saying.
fine.
There's other movies that I'd be like, no, you haven't seen that way before that.
It's like
you know?
saying,
Yeah.
it's like saying if all these edgy, cartoony, or adult cartoons came out like Rick and Morty, if Rick and Morty came last, it would not be noticed.
I feel like
Yeah,
every
it
single
almost
movie that I love from the 80s is something that didn't do extremely well initially and then became a cult classic later.
Like
I don't
Roswell.
think I love any movie from the maybe I could be proven wrong and I'm just not thinking of one. But I can't think of a
Princess Bride
single
is still
movie
just
from
as
the
good.
80s that was like a huge hit right away that I actually genuinely love.
In all
Shining.
honesty,
Like,
like
for
I
me,
think what bugged me about Back to the Future the most was that whole attempted rape scene towards the end. I don't want to say too much about it because it might be spoiler.
Yeah, a 30-year-old
I think
movie.
Still,
everyone's
it's
seen the
just
movie
so
at this
out
point.
of place and weird.
Wait, how well received
Aside
is
from
Full
Adam.
Metal Jacket?
Oh yeah, I've seen Full
It
Metal
wasn't
Jacket.
very well
There's-
received. It
Like
was
I know
kind
the
of polarizing.
Shining. I know the
Roger
Shining.
Ebert
was
didn't
polarizing.
like it. He was like, "Oh, it's just more like a collection of short stories in a
I agree.
movie."
I totally agree, though.
And for me, like,
The
right
basic
now, I
training
think-
stuff to the Vietnam stuff to me feels like a totally different movie.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
kinda
but it
funny
doesn't
'cause-
feel like it's trying to be like waves or anything. It does feel like it's connected in a way.
Yeah, sort of.
In a way, it's
still
man, it's
connected by
rough.
that
What about
scene,
Amadeus?
like, it
Amadeus
doesn't-
did really well.
Amadeus
like it-
rocks. I
Adam, we
love
found
that.
it. Amadeus.
It doesn't feel like it's trying to be like From Dusk Till Dawn. Is what I'm saying.
I know, I get what you're saying. I just,
Yeah.
it still has that effect for me. Not
Yeah.
obviously as on the nose as from Dust Till Dawn.
I mean, the
Did
training
you guys
is
know he did
definitely-
Domino too?
Yeah.
Who?
Kelly,
And
what's his
honestly,
face?
I find like the tonal shift from like the training camp scene.
Richard Kelly.
He didn't do Domino. That was Michael Mann.
He wrote it.
Well,
Yeah,
he didn't.
He wrote it.
He wrote it.
Oh, you're
Okay,
right,
yeah, he
directed
didn't
by
direct
Tony
it.
Scott.
Tony Scott.
Tony
that's my
Scott. That's
Screenplay
who
by
it was.
Richard
Sorry.
Kelly. Okay.
Sometimes I
I'm
confuse
just
Tony
saying
Scott
that,
and Michael
like-
Mann.
Ooh,
They were
the boss
both.
that
Tony
walked out
Scott,
of that.
the American History X guy.
We all saw Come and See, right?
Yeah, but don't spoil it.
Oh
No
my god, it
spoilers,
was so
but
hard to find.
Let's just say that
Criterion Channel.
we put Come and See with stuff we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Come and See is special because it tells a different story.
Yeah,
I think a lot of reasons though. I don't think it's only the story.
Well, it's also the cinematography.
Yeah, because the execution of the movie sells the story so hard.
Execution, yes.
You could have that exact same script and have it shot by like the Adam Sandler company, and it would be a totally different movie.
It's basically a TVMA Jojo Rabbit.
Exactly. And then there's Alien. I like Alien, but is it good
I think
for everyone
Aliens
here?
is quite a lot better. I did not like
Yes.
Alien at all. Well, I liked
And,
I liked the scene with the synth. The scene with the synth was my favorite.
Alex is coming
and
for you.
I thought the rest of the movie was boring.
I liked the
Boring?
air duct
You
scene.
thought Alien was boring?
Yes. It was a fucking standard 80s slasher. Like,
It's
more the
I think I
presentation
understood
in the
it.
universe rather than the actual story.
Yeah, I wouldn't
the
call it
aesthetic was
standard. I wouldn't call it standard,
cool.
but I understand it being
I know.
boring. That's a movie that I appreciate more than I like actually genuinely love.
Oh
Hey,
yeah.
Neolfa, how'd you feel about The Witch?
The Witch?
Yeah.
The one with the two
Oh,
V's?
The Witch. Oh, that was
One with
The
yeah,
Vivitch.
the two V's, yeah, the Vivitch. The German
Yeah.
Vivitch.
Robert.
All right.
How'd you feel about it? You said
I
all
had,
right?
like no feelings at all.
Really?
I sat
Okay, well,
there,
that
I said
makes more
that
sense.
was all right, and I'm like,
I'm trying
it's
to.
okay.
Did you ever see The Assassination of
Lighthouse.
Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford?
Have you seen The Lighthouse? That's another movie that some people haven't really liked. I saw this one review on the internet that just called it really repetitive.
The Lighthouse?
Yeah.
Well, it is repetitive. That's purposely though. Like it helps sell the theme of the insanity
the
and then being stuck
spiral
there
into
forever.
insanity.
Yeah,
I
exactly,
would.
right.
Yeah,
So-
I would say it like builds up progressively.
It ramps
Like
up
it's it doesn't
the
stay
intensity
stagnant.
of the
Like things
repetitive-
spiral
the
out of
fan
control
base-
as it goes along.
which is.
But if you think
like
about
you
the
say, I think that's a good idea. Is to repeat something so it ingrains people, into people's minds. Oh, that's the theme. Oh, that's
the
what this
XX
video
has
is
a
about.
great
That's
music
the
video
thing.
called Islands, where it literally
I
is only
feel
like a
like-
7-second
And
clip that they
like
keep
The
redoing and there's minor
Shining,
changes
there
every
was-
time.
Oh yeah.
I feel like the fan base of The Lighthouse kind of made me love it a little less. I don't know.
You
Oh
have to
my
separate
God,
yourself
speak
from
about
that because
that,
that's going
like-
to happen a lot.
And
It's
like,
going to ruin
You
good
ever hear
movies
of a
for
game
you.
called Undertale?
Yeah, that's like the Undertale fan base.
Well,
I
Parasite.
want to. I'm gonna play it soon because
Or Joker.
I'm trying to break that side of me where it's like
No,
the
because
fan
I've
base
been
is ruining
bullied
it.
because of my.
Yeah, you
I'm a
can't.
Joker.
Don't let that happen. Don't let that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
You have to
irrelevant.
separate
People
it.
ruin things for you, and don't. care
Although
about people who
genuinely,
don't
I
care
did
about
not
you.
like Rick and Morty's third season. It was terrible.
You know what though? Okay, so I have the
Leave that
same
out.
problem with Rick and Morty as I have with the 5th season of Peaky Blinders, and we were talking about something else. So I think Halo for me anyway was that for me it was Reach, and what happened is like I was like, it's not that they're getting worse. I'm just so used to it now. It's not special anymore. So the same tricks are just getting employed over and over again, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. Like it's still good, but it'd be like if you just ate candy bars all the time. After like a week, you're like, dude, I get it, man. Like
I feel that way about Rick and Morty. I don't feel that way about Halo. I feel like Halo actually got worse. It wasn't just the same thing again.
fair enough. Yeah.
Rick and Morty is just a lot of the same stuff over and over. It's
Where
just
it's
less
like, it was
surprising.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't bring myself to finish the third season, but did they do another improv commercials episode?
Oh, I don't remember.
I only made it halfway as well.
What
I really
they
can't
did
stand
like
that
they oh, the commercials. What maybe I misunderstood.
Those
talking about
the
the
improv
television.
commercials is perhaps like the first one was my favorite. The second one was meh.
I think I agree
Interdimensional
with you.
cable.
Yes, the first
Yeah.
interdimensional cable I think is really
so what
special.
so what they did this season is they had them on like a. It was
Story
weird.
Train.
What did they? I can't kind of.
A
remember.
story train, they did.
No,
They put them in a. Wait,
They had like a
well,
train. They had like a train episode
Yes.
that was like an anthology kind of like it
It was weird. It was really weird. It was kind of like it was like so fucking meta that no one who doesn't watch the show would even understand it.
Have you, any of you guys watch Community?
We're not smart enough to understand it.
No. It's literally that's not the
uh,
point. It's like literally, it's only this episode is only for people who watch the show because there's so many fucking in jokes,
Right?
and meta stuff, and it's
I mean, I was just joking. The whole, you know,
I know.
my
I know some
caveman
guy-
brain.
I know
like
some
cave-
Rick and Morty fans that hate that episode of Anthology because apparently it makes fun of toxic fandom with the theories and all that. Like,
I mean-
well, it's not a spoiler, but basically they mention the most famous theories of the series and says, no, we mustn't think of that. If not, it won't be canon. And they mention the most famous ones, like making fun of them or something like that.
Okay, I get that. Yeah. Well, you know what? That's almost the problem that happened with Game of Thrones.
Get back the series to themselves because of the controversy of the fans. I don't know what was the controversy. Well, the sales ones are saying all that.
Well, I feel like that writing against the fans thing is what tanked Game of Thrones. Was that they were like, well, crap, the things that make sense for us to do, the fans have figured out, so we're going to go out of our way to not do them at the cost of the story.
And also, there were no books.
I've heard like a lot of bad things about like Game of Thrones final season and the final episode. I haven't seen the show.
It's the second half of the show, though,
let me
dude.
watch it.
They drank
As soon as they ran out of
Starbucks.
material for the books, it fell apart.
So, this is actually something I want to do. So with the stories I'm writing, I'm thinking I'm gonna make a webcomic series first, and then but it's the idea of like different universes merged in, like
something with the cat.
yeah. I mean, shamefully, and I've written this so far back that it's ingrained into the story that there are anthropomorphics, but I try to have it in a very creative way instead of being like, oh, furries.
Hey, man, furries need content.
Yeah, that's true.
Where's the representation?
And that's the
Fucking
thing.
furry hoe.
But I'm thinking like multiple endings that will most much like Mass Effect, transition to the next one over.
You're talking about in the book?
No, like first the webcomic would be
got it. Sorry, webcomic.
So no one, they wouldn't know exactly what's going to happen if they chose their own path, and so if that makes sense.
Well, it's just with the Game of Thrones thing, it's like it would be not reading forums and then being like, oh crap, they figured out X plot point or whatever. We'll just subvert their expectations just to do it. Well, so here's the deal. They started the show when he was like 3 books ahead. He finished 1 while they were working on it, and then he never finished another book. So season 4 is when they ran out of material, and 4 was basically they half ran out. They were finishing up some things, and then they ran out of lines for other people. So 5 is completely original from then on, and that, in my opinion, is where you see the very steep drop off.
Yeah. Also, yes, furries are weird.
I wasn't saying that.
If done right.
Adam's a furry.
If done right.
What? No.
I want to bring up Old
He's a
Boy for
what?
a second. It's not relevant to the current discussion. But something that I thought about was, does anybody know about the manga that Old Boy was adapted from?
No.
Because
I'm
something that's
aware of it.
interesting-
I've never read through it, and I don't really care about doing that.
No, but something that's interesting is that it's nowhere near as shocking as the movie.
Yeah, they made a bunch of
Imagine being
changes.
a fan of the manga.
Shut up, phone.
Imagine being a fan of the manga saying, wow, I'm so glad that my favorite manga is finally
Well, that'd
adapted
be
into a
good.
movie. And then you watch it, and
what
it
the
just
fuck is
takes
this?
such different, shocking turns.
I like that though.
And-
I've actually talked about that a lot with
If it wants to be its own
That's
thing, that can be a good thing.
Right. I think the comic book
like
world
The
right now.
Shining. Like Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, The Shining, good
Shining
example.
was
Yeah.
a lot different from Stephen King's
And a lot
book,
better.
and it's great.
Oh my gosh.
Like
So,
the Lion King 2019.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Better in every way.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, I mean,
nothing but improvement.
So my
And
friend,
I look
to
at
me,
like the
it's-
differences between the Kubrick movie, The Shining, and the Stephen King book, and it's actually improved. Like in the Stephen King book, there were like topiary animals that came to life.
Yeah, it
That
was
sounds so
hilarious.
cheesy
I
and
watched
Yeah,
I watched
stupid.
this stupid miniseries, and it was so awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen videos on YouTube of it. It looks so unintentionally
so bad.
hilarious.
Yeah, the guys from Small
Stanley
Beans.
Kubrick did the same thing for Clockwork Orange, actually, too, because the ending was actually completely different from the book ending.
Yeah, it was more optimistic.
It was,
but
yeah,
like
it made it more
Stanley Kubrick
depressing.
was like, that's blandly uplifting or whatever, so he changed it.
I do think it's better.
And the
But
book
I've been saying that about
author didn't like that.
people have this comic book thing where I have a lot of friends who are really into comic books and I'm not in particular. So when we watch these movies, a lot of times I'll be like, well, this was dumb. And they're like, well, it's okay though, because it was in the comic. And it's like, this is an opportunity for the movie to say, hey, you know what? We're going to be our own thing and make it better.
Yeah.
Also, it would be incredibly predictable too. Like,
Well, right. That's why I brought it up with the manga situation.
Yeah.
Is if I had read the manga, I would rather have the anime be different, so I'm not just exactly getting the frame by frame same thing.
Yeah,
That's why no
I
one
mean,
jumped out of their
like,
chair to go watch Psycho, the remake.
You also have to consider that, like, if you're adapting something, you might have to make changes for the narrative benefit just because of the format too. Like, there are some things that are just going to work better as a film, whether it's for the purpose of condensing information in a shortened time or by presenting it in a different, like, visual way. There are changes, like, not every source material lends itself well to be adapted into other mediums. So I think it's important to be able to make changes. When you're looking at, like, something like a remake, The Lion King 2019, it already was a film. Like, there's no excuse, right? So
And if anything, it was afforded more tools by being a cartoon.
And if you look at something like The Giver, that was a book that actually like took risks and had a really ambiguous ending. But in the movie, it was like, no, we've got to have this really blandly uplifting ending that.
But another good example,
really
though,
unplausible.
the
just
problem too is
really
that
annoying.
those different
And it was
mediums have
from
different
the
tools
book,
that they
but
have to
bad.
use. So when you have like only a book, the only tool you have is writing. So you just have more and more words. So you have a lot of characters who will do like inner monologues and stuff. When you have a movie, you've opened up all these new tools that you get to use now. So for instance, like Shaun of the Dead, a whole bunch of the comedy is actually visually told. And so it's hard to put that in a
It
screenplay.
can't be a book.
Well, and if it was a book, you would lose all those jokes and you'd have to make new ones.
Yeah.
And so I think it is very important that whatever medium you're using to actually use. Same thing with stage. Stage is completely different than movies.
Yeah.
So you have to write stuff that works and stands on
I'm
stage.
reading
about cats.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you look at like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie, that had lots of like narration that I think was adapted from the book.
Yeah, that movie made me sad.
I'm reading that Charlie Kaufman novel, and I'm going through it really slowly. I'm on like chapter 7 or something.
Yeah, I really want to read that.
Out of like 83 or some shit.
Charlie Kaufman wrote a book. What's it
It's
called?
called Ant Kind. It just came out a week or two ago. And it's really funny. I'm enjoying it a lot, but like reading through this, I'm like, yeah, this is not like a film screenplay. This is not something that would adapt itself well to be a movie. This is like specifically just a book thing.
So they would have to have a lot of creative changes to make it into it.
Yeah, I don't even know what they possibly could do, but like you'd be losing what makes the book special, really.
Like that book, The Giver.
Technically, Charlie Kaufman would be the idea person to adapt it.
I've never read that.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
pretty much there's a concept in the book. I'm not gonna spoil it if no one's read the book because the movie's garbage. There is.
I've read it.
It really is.
Yeah, it's
but you know what I'm
total
talking
garbage.
about. Like that
It,
doesn't
like-
work. It's like an interesting book. You know, I don't know if it's great or whatever, but they have like this basic. They have like this idea that they like describe things in certain ways, and then once something happens, that they describe it, and it doesn't translate to film because you don't like there's certain reveals in the book that don't work in film I can't explain it.
There's a book about a house. I can't remember what it's called now, but the book itself, the way it's written is half of the experience. It's written very strangely.
House of Leaves.
Yep, House of Leaves. That's
you
exactly
may have
it.
it
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, are
And you
you
couldn't
like
translate that.
I am reading it right now.
Yeah, it's super dope.
Alright, you
and
know what?
the book
You
is
mean
like
to
it'll have
tell
a
me
whole
that-
page that has like one word on it or something, and so you can't translate that part of that anyway into a movie.
Yeah,
It's
and,
really cool
like-
because it's a trio narrative between 3 different people. And
Well,
it's
isn't that the thing? Like, no one in that world knows what pain is. Like,
Giver? Yeah, I know, like-
I'm gonna be back in like 2 minutes.
toe.
I gotta use the
Yeah,
bathroom.
the
I'll be
book
right
was
back.
like really interesting. Like I really loved the Giver book when I was younger because it was really exploring some interesting concepts and it wasn't afraid to like be really dark and stuff. And what I loved the most is that like towards the ending it was more ambiguous and stuff. But then in the movie it just turned into some stupid actions thing for no reason.
Yeah,
like
and then
they have him like punch somebody in the face. It's so goofy.
What is this feeling?
My favorite part was when they have like this montage at the end. It was
What
so
I brought up though
ridiculous.
about Old Boy is just specifically the tonal change. The manga, from what I know, is very cheap and basic. Like the villain's motivation in there is something as stupid as I was depressed, and the main character noticed that I was depressed but didn't do anything. So I kidnapped him and threw him into this psychological hellhole where he doesn't know what the hypnosis I gave him will do, and he doesn't know when in the middle of the night the people he loves will suddenly wake up and throw themselves off of the edge of a roof because
Is
I
that a
hypnotized them.
spoiler?
That's for the manga. That's for the
Alright.
manga.
Let's
Don't say any
let's avoid
spoilers
spoilers for any
because-
mangas too. But that I will admit that is somehow more hilarious than getting shot in the nipple or something like that. I don't know.
Well, the motivation for the villain in the movie and the manga are so different, and so are like the tone and the approach. That imagine if there was a soap opera that's really cheap, like the type of stuff that you watch with your mom, and then it gets adapted into a movie and it's happiness.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like Total Recall. I just saw the original Total Recall movie last night and stuff, and it was really silly. But then I've heard that the remake is supposed to be more serious and stuff. And
the remake is supposed to be also very bad.
Yeah, the remake is awful.
Yeah.
So here's the deal: is
Haven't
that if
seen
you're
it.
gonna take an '80s flick that is meant to be this testosterone-filled adventure,
It's from like 1990. No, I could be wrong.
Yeah,
it could
yeah,
be.
the
Either way,
residue from the
pre-2000s. How about that? If you're gonna take a pre-2000s film that was meant to be testosterone-filled, and make it serious, then it's not gonna come out with good results, because it was meant to be this silly adventure before, and then you're taking the silly adventure and adding depth to it. Depth that
It was
is
like
not
that-
added.
I feel kind of bad that I smelled the Old Boy manga now.
It's like that Judge Dredd remake where they just turned into the raid.
Yeah. What kind of dog is
Apparently
that?
it was better.
Yeah, it was actually better. It was better than the original Judge Dredd
Yeah.
for sure. It wasn't better than the raid.
I don't care enough about Dread. I think I watched the remake and then forgot about it.
Sorry, B.
I feel bad.
What's that dog back there? What breed is it?
It's a mutt. They call him
It's-
Sharpei, but we don't really know.
Might be a
No, it's not a
Shar-Pei,
dog,
I
it's
don't
a
know.
pillow.
Adam, I want to.
I thought it was a
ask
pillow at first, but then I saw that pillow wag its tail. So
What's up, Augie?
It's a very special pillow.
I wanted to ask another question that was kind of related to the time travel thing. It was so even if it's not like as explored, if it's used more or less as a metaphor, would it still like matter? Do you think as much?
It's an example.
I don't think that
Yeah.
would be a good example, but
Time travel is a metaphor, but not actually being used.
I guess if it's not the main focus, I suppose.
That's a lot of them. Terminator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Even Looper.
yeah, I'd
I
have
don't
to
feel like
think.
the time
I'd
travel
have to
itself
think of it. Well, yeah, I mean, like that again. Like I criticize the time travel logic in Looper, but it doesn't make it a terrible movie. Like it has more to offer than just that. That's not the entire movie. Same with Terminator. Like I can criticize that aspect of the plot without thinking that it ruins the entire thing.
I remember seeing a film where the time travel. I can't remember what the film was called, but there was time travel, and it was actually used more or less as a metaphor. So I think you weren't really supposed to look deep into that aspect of it, but I can't remember what it was.
Well, I'm normally not mad at the ones. I think it was like a Sound of Thunder who did where whenever you go back in time, you create like an alternate timeline now. And I think they messed with
Yeah.
that in like Endgame, although they
Yeah,
screwed it up at the end when he goes.
There was one with
Man.
screwed up a lot of things.
Vsauce just did a cool video kind of explaining that.
Yeah, it
It's
depends on the
actually-
movie. It really depends on the movie. I was just thinking like the butterfly effect, but then there's the one scene that ruins the whole movie.
With the nails.
Yeah, it's like you just completely
You know,
you set up rules and then you broke the rules that you set
That's-
up. You have the freedom
what
to
they-
make whatever rules you want. You have the
Yeah.
freedom to say
what?
this is how the universe works and you can do whatever you want and I don't care. Just follow the rules that you set up.
Consistency.
Sometimes I like
is
to
key.
read scripts of films, so it helps me get into perspective of what the writer was intending.
Mm-hmm.
That does make me think.
There's a movie I watched recently that it's literally me, Robert, and sorry, this is kind of out of here.
Sure.
But it's me, Roger Ebert versus the world, and it's called The Knowing with Nicolas Cage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Roger Ebert.
It's just knowing.
The knowing, yeah.
I just did a whole breakdown on like his
We
career.
also like the fact
I
that
don't know if
Menace
I
and
give
the
it a
Happening.
5 or a 10 or whatever, but I did like it.
I
Yeah, it's one of those anomalies where, I mean, he's just a human. You know, we can have an opinion that's different. I just said, if you didn't hear, you also liked Phantom Menace and the Happening, which is
Yeah, Roger Ebert has like tons of opinions
yeah.
that I disagree with massively.
Yeah,
So-
that
I
also
think
go
like
against
The Godfather
the
3 a
general
higher
consensus massively.
Yeah,
But
there's
he is
Massively go
a
against the general
very.
consensus.
I mean, you can't deny that he is a very smart person, though.
Well,
and a
what's
very-
hard?
And
What's hard
influential,
is
too.
it's such a subjective field. It's such an outrageously subjective
Adam,
field. It's hard to have a
course.
Please
master
share this.
critic like a food critic. You know.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
Roger
you share this
Ebert
to the
even
world.
gave like The Godfather 3 a higher rating than he initially gave Part 2. So he
I think that
initially
he got
then,
very famous early on for being a full-time critic, and so then he's now like on the Washington, monument of.
Who's that one guy? The guy who just gives like who's like pure contrarian.
Armand White.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Just
Armand
weird.
White.
Armand White
I have to
is not
send you the
bad.
link to like his Jack and
It's
Jill
more
review.
about
It's so funny.
politics than contrarianism, right? With
I used
him.
to
Yeah.
think that his name
Thinks,
was
like,
Almond
the
White.
new Little Woman movie is racist because like the main characters are white, yet he like praises
What movie?
Gone with the Wind.
Armand White,
in the
just
original
nobody-
Birth of a Nation.
Nobody
Makes
takes
no
him
sense.
seriously. Nobody respects him really. He's
What's his
basically
name?
a troll.
Where's it come
Criterion
from?
for
On
Revenge.
Revenge. Or what-
That for
Is it
Criterion,
actually a good
apparently.
essay?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In his review
I don't know.
of Jack and Jill, he was like, Adam Sandler thrives on being unembarrassed. The key to classic comedy going back to the greats.
I think that, I don't know, there's probably, like, if you're a published critic, I'm sure Criterion has something where, like, maybe you could, like, apply to do something like that, and maybe they don't rigorously go through every review that someone's ever made. Like, I don't know how that works. Maybe they sought him out specifically. I don't know. I don't know how that works.
I think Armand White
So
was
you
like
didn't read
kicked
his
out of
essay?
the New York Film Critics Circle because he was like heckling the 12 Years a Slave director or
Yeah.
something, but then he denied that. or
I think
something,
some of
and then
these
he won
institutions
some
were set up a
award
long time
later.
ago when there was a lot less players, and so now that it's easier to get involved, they don't have appropriate vetting processes to make up for the added amount of people now who are getting involved.
Maybe.
In these things.
Has any of you listened to? Does anyone? I know this is kind of like a weird off topic, but Chapo Trap House is like a podcast. They have like a great mini series right now called
Mhm.
This Is
Haven't heard
Us,
of him.
and it is hilarious. It's pretty much just making fun of like This Is Us and similar like NBC shows. None of us
Oh,
would have
you know
ever
what? This
watched.
Is Us is a great example of like it's like the adult version of 13 Reasons Why. It's like
Yeah.
we're just going to be overly sappy and overly just have
Yeah.
our head directly up our
Yeah.
own ass.
Yeah, and the
Never
guy who
seen it.
did
All these
like
shows, the weirdest part about them is they're all filmed like fucking drug commercials. Like,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
They-
and I
these
think like the
weirdly
guy who
lit,
did
like-
This Is Us did this movie called Life Itself, which looks so ridiculously pretentious and manipulative. It's just
People
awful.
hated it.
I hate the manipulation because I could make a movie today that's just an hour and a half of someone kicking a dog over and over, and it'd be like, oh my god, it's such a sad movie. It's like
Isn't
a
Life Itself that Roger Ebert movie?
Yeah, that's
no,
the same
no,
title,
no,
but it's a
like-
different
Yeah,
movie.
it's the same
Hey.
title.
Is there a critic who has made a good movie like that you have on mind?
Well,
I just
Roger
now
Ebert
found out
did
Dario
write the
Argento and
screenplay
Bernardo
for like
Bertolucci
Beyond the
critics
Valley.
Lover.
before they became
Uh-oh.
directors.
The,
Lover.
Roger-
Dario
Have
Argento
anyone
and
actually
Bernardo
seen Chris
Bertolucci.
Stuckman short films?
I saw
Oh,
the
yeah, they're pretty
Notes
cool.
with
I like
Melanie.
How was it?
It was okay.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a famous director, and I can't remember who, but like started out as a film critic, but you'd never know,
the
and I
guy
forget
did
who
the
it
Last
is.
Picture Show. The guy
Does
who did
anybody
the-
here know Mysterious Mr. Enter?
Oh, I
Yeah,
like.
I
I
used
used
I'm
to
aware.
like his content, but I can't
I'm
really
the
watch
guy-
it anymore.
I'm the guy who
Yeah,
worked on
I
it with
liked
Growing Around.
I liked them also.
Wait,
I
what?
still think some
I'm the
of his
guy who
stuff
worked
is
on it
good.
with Growing Around. I'm the artist. And I'm
Nice.
also the
Oh, really?
co-creator. Yeah, I have the
Oh,
credits
cool.
on my name. If you look
Oh,
at
holy
the like,
shit.
Is he a nice guy?
Yeah, John's cool. Like he comes off as like overly angry in his videos. He's really different.
I realized that he's probably like he's probably like on the same spectrum.
He's like the less polished version of Adam, but for animation.
No, I just realized like because he says he's Aspergic, and I just realized he's probably on the same spectrum as I am. And,
I think he's also a bit more. He is like,
and you know what? And a lot of the stuff I see from people criticizing him and all, I can't blame him for hating on some of these things because
should I look at?
You can't help but hyper focus on those issues.
Yeah. And I like have the deepest regret in my mind because I know I could have got him hooked on a cool concept for a cartoon that I would have loved to work on, like Avatar: The Last Airbender quality. But instead, we settled on a shitty slice of life comedy, and I'm like, I fell out of loving it.
That's okay.
And I was like, oh man. Because of the autism spectrum, yeah, he got super hyper focused on that for many years, and it's my fucking fault.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. And I don't know if I told you guys about this. There's a game I like, a game I like called Elite Dangerous, and
heard of it. I don't think I have heard of it.
It's a space sim, but it's everything I wanted in a game.
No. Star Citizen, that's the one I was thinking of. Elite Dangerous.
Yes.
Elite Dangerous
Did Star Citizen ever come out?
No, it will never come out.
No.
But here's the funny thing is like, I hyper focus on that game so much that I can teach people how to play that fucking game. So, and that thing has a freaking huge learning curve. It took me 18 months to learn how to play it fully.
Whoa. That's nuts. That's one heck of a hard game. Wow.
Oh yeah. Well,
Melee's kind of similar, where you have to like learn so much before you can even fucking enjoy it with all the like competitive people. Also,
this is how passionate. This is how passionate of the game I am. I have these. Oh, and also this.
Beautiful.
I play Magic the Gathering like pretty competitively, and it's the same problem.
Oh, do you guys like my mouse pad, by the way?
Oh no!
Yeah, when you get in with the competitive people, where you have to sink in so many hours to like be on the same level as them, it hurts.
Well, so much of it is just like it's just rote memorization. Like I just know what like thousands of cards do, and there's no value in that other than just playing the game.
Oh yeah.
You'll just hear like lightning.
I like Pokemon cards.
It's like that though. Pokemon can be pretty intense if you're actually serious about it.
Do you like playing Pokemon or just collecting the cards?
I play Pokemon.
No, I play the game.
Pokemon
I know how to play it. I enjoy playing it
Adam
for real.
plays Facade video.
All right. Well, maybe I should start with telling you guys how many hours I have clocked into Elite Dangerous.
Over 9,000.
9,733 hours.
Wow, is that like a year?
Pathetic. Not even counting my Skyrim hours.
But still.
Hey, when the theaters reopen, are you guys going to be in a hurry to get back in there?
Nope.
Not really.
There are independent theaters in Vancouver that are open right now.
Oh no shit. Well, okay, I didn't mean that. I guess I mean when the new releases start actually coming out.
When Tenet comes out, I don't think I'm going to be seeing it in theaters. And I think if Christopher Nolan still continues pushing it, despite the U.S. like doing fucking terribly right now and not seeing the virus go down, I think he's got blood on his hands, like legit. Like I think he's a massive piece of shit for wanting to like have this blockbuster movie being pushed out right now. I think he's actually a gigantic asshole.
I'm shocked that it hasn't already turned into everyone putting
He's not. I don't think that's really up to him though.
No, he's pushing it. He's the one that's pushing it.
Yeah.
It's literally him that's doing it.
Every day there's a Reddit post about him pushing it.
But I just remember, I remember hearing there's a separate guy who has this job for distributing release dates.
Christopher Nolan is the one that's like pushing this to happen.
He's been vocal anyway. He's like made us think about it. There's like articles and articles like on Variety.
It's literally him doing it.
Yeah, I really hope the Green Knight goes to VOD, and if you guys
Me too.
have the Green Knight.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Well, I keep such a hard eye on. I'm one of those huge A24 like sycophants now.
Are you guys ready for the Dune remake from Dennis?
I heard that the new
what remake?
James Bond
Dune.
is going to be
Dennis
pushed
I'm
again,
super
but
stoked
it
about
was
that.
probably everything's going to push that way.
For which one? What's that?
I just
that
had the most retarded thought in my mind. What if Christopher Nolan and Neil Breen paired together?
Oh
That'd be
God,
awesome.
no!
I think about making
Yes!
like a super group all the time, where it's like if I had
Like-
my favorite director with my favorite DP with my favorite sound designer,
Writer.
favorite editor, yeah.
Then throw in one bad role just to see
Neil
how
Breen.
it negatively affects.
Yeah.
it.
Neil Breen can do costume design.
Christopher
What
Nolan
would a
quality of
s-
film with his writing.
What would
that'd
a
be fun.
super high budget Neil Breen movie look like?
I guess I'm about to find out. There's a movie that I'm gonna watch as soon as this thing is over, and I've been told it's like Neil Breen with a budget.
What's
Let's see. I posted the
Is it
trailer
recreating-
in Twitch chat last night. I'm just gonna see if I can find the movie title
I think
again.
one of the problems is that Neil Breen with a budget is basically George Lucas. Like he tried his damnedest to make a really bad movie, and a bunch of other much more
It's,
talented people around him fixed it.
It's Deadly Lessons 2006 by Stuart Paul, and the trailer is hilarious.
Lessons, okay.
And I have people, there are trusted individuals that have told me that it's like Neil Breen with a budget. So I'm about to find out in like an hour.
I really hope
John Voight.
I really hope that
Yeah.
it's like, it has one of those scenes like justice will be served as like explosions happen.
The trailer looks so funny.
Doesn't overlap.
Yeah. Hey,
You know,
Adam.
and that's the part that I really laughed at in Twisted Pair, was the
Mhm.
explosion sounds. They
Oh, they're
never
so good.
overlapped.
He improves every film he makes. He's
They're hard to
ambitious.
pick out.
Again, it's a spiral. It's a
He
good
is very
spiral.
ambitious. That's one of the like good old fashioned like 101 of the guy who is not I don't know. It's hard because they take it seriously, but those amateur guys, especially from the 90s, with like everything was done on video, and they always wanted to make something that was like $100 million out of their budget, and he like cannot make a simpler story that is just in his budget anymore, because the first couple are
Who? Which
Breen.
Oh.
Like he refuses to make movies that are like within his budget. And
I mean, no, he
that could actually
he
work.
does make movies within his budget. His like
that's
he's not writing scenes that have like 800 extras or anything.
No, but he's got like factory explosions. And
No, yeah,
flying
but he does them
superpowers.
himself, and they look great.
That's the thing. Like,
If he needed 800 extras, he would just he would.
Yeah, he would just have him.
He would clone himself.
Yeah, clone himself 1,000 times.
I think Pass Through had this like really bad CGI tiger that looks so fake.
It's not a CG tiger; it's a real tiger, but it's in front of a
Yeah.
green screen or whatever.
It's not CG,
Oh,
goddammit.
It's like stock footage tiger.
Funny.
Don't let him hear you call it
No,
CG.
and that's the thing is like
He'll come for you.
Neil Breen has taught me a lot of things too, like not to narrate when it's not appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just think
stupid monologues.
I think the best thing really you can learn from him.
Neil Breen clip is when he's just banging on the laptop and saying, "I'm gonna find all these hackers."
Inconsequential destruction of property.
I'm not ready for this.
I'm willing to bet he's the kind of guy who you can't tell him anything.
Yeah.
And I think that if there's a real thing to learn from him, it's learning to like be able to actually take criticism.
No.
I guarantee his friends told him.
No, I completely because if he started doing that, he wouldn't have an audience.
Well,
if he started legitimately
course.
taking criticism, he would not be the person he is today. His movies would not be successful.
You're right, but it's like it's the same thing.
if it was
Well, I was saying
actually,
for
like-
us to learn because I'm not going to get the chance to do what he's doing. It's like who's that guy Eddie Huang or whatever who did She Bangs for like American Idol.
Mm.
You guys remember that?
Oh,
Really
William
embarrassing.
Hung?
She Bangs. William Hung, right? William Hung. I'm basically coming from the point of view of like what his vocal coach should have been telling him, but the reality is that he needed to do exactly what he did because it made him famous anyway, and that was his only
What
chance.
okay, but hypothetically speaking, if Neil Breen did take that criticism and made like a fucking masterpiece, like actually speaking,
It's not possible.
Yeah,
He's already making masterpieces.
Yeah,
he's so
I
far
don't know.
away from
I'm just hypothetically saying,
Yeah.
and actually like decent. Let's be decent here. 8 out of 10 movie.
Yeah,
But all his films are 10 out of 10.
Yeah, he's already making
Like,
10
what
out
do
of
you
10
think?
movies. What the fuck?
Yeah, he does seem like a nicer guy than like Derek Savage because he's
Oh my
not
gosh,
like
yeah.
trying to take down videos
I don't know.
feel like he would be a very scary man.
Yes, I get some really negative energy coming off of him. He seems like I said, he seems like you can't tell him anything. Like he was a successful business.
Breen or Derek?
Architecture.
Oh, Breen?
Breen. Derek is obviously a jerk. Derek like goes out his way to look like a jerk, but Breen has done a good job of keeping himself out of like the open limelight, I think. But he puts off an energy to me that's like you can't. If you're at the dinner table and you try to say, I think you should do blah blah blah, he'd be like, well, I think you should shut the fuck up.
No, I disagree.
You don't think so? Oh man,
no.
he gives me that kind of.
I've watched his 5-hour-long retrospective. I've heard him talk for 5 hours about nothing.
He just wants to hear advice and then take it the whole.
No, I mean like you can be a person that is still like resilient in your ideas and your goals without being an asshole to everybody. And like it's not like the people that he hires onto his films are also like experts that would have an idea of how to fix what he's doing. They're people that he's just like, yeah, put the light over here. They're probably like, okay, fine. Like I don't see why they would argue with him in the first place.
I do have a question about.
It's very strange that you think he actually hires cameramen and lighting people.
No, I've seen his retrospective. He does have small crews.
Oh fuck.
Okay.
I'm actually
didn't clone himself.
Doesn't it seem like there's a 0% chance that in the future it's not a bunch of like meme lords who are in his movies? Like when
that's
he puts out
okay.
casting calls. No, it's gonna be interesting. I think it's gonna be really like how many winks we may get from people being like, yeah, I know.
That's perfectly fine. Yeah. As long as they do what he asks, though.
People.
That's the important part because they might ham it up too much to where now it's Sharknado.
No, no, that's not gonna happen.
Do you think there's ever gonna be someone he comes across that's gonna be like a fucking, I can't think of his actual name, but like the Seth Rogen character in the Disaster Artist, where like he's just.
See, I don't think he'd give up enough control. I don't think he would ever want to not be the pants.
Mm-hmm.
That happened with him too. He said, what's his face, who made The Room, said he swapped out like 4 different crews.
Yeah,
because he had the recordings everywhere, and they would talk shit, and he would fire the whole crew and get a new crew or whatever. And I think it's the same problem. He just is like, no, I'm the guy. I know what's up. I make.
Except Tommy Wiseau had like a bunch of money.
He had like $6 million or something crazy like that. Yeah. They just found out he was Polish, by the way.
Well, how do you think Neil Breen would deal with like that type of person though? Like I can't remember his actual name, but like a Seth Rogen and like.
To me, he comes across like just a very sure of himself. Like he made a very blue collar. Also, he has these very, very like conservative viewpoints that come out in his movies. He's always like saving the world from these, media people and stuff like that. So
and
to
these
me,
evil politicians.
Yeah. So to me, it translates. I Adam's onto something that I'm probably just projecting too much onto him. But to me, it comes across like he would have a very like, hey, I know what I'm fucking talking about. I had a real job. You're just some artsy person. Shut the fuck up.
You could hire Kaylin Bennett for his next film.
I try to. He reminds me of my grandma. My grandma is kind, but also if you criticize her, she'll say, "No, what I meant is this." Just kind of an airhead, but
I guess that's what it is. I just assume people must have been telling him that he's messing up, and he must have been telling them to fuck off. But maybe that's not. Maybe he just hasn't.
Being stubborn is not the same thing as being a bad person.
Well, I'm not trying to say bad person. I'm just saying I think
you guys are making
like
me remember
so for someone to make corrections to something like the script, they would first have to understand what's even going on in the script, which is not possible. So they wouldn't be like, "Oh yeah, you need to fix this line," or something. Like they don't know. They don't know what it ties together as, right? He has like a set idea.
He committed suicide. Someone had to be there and was like, "Dude, that's the take. You're using that."
No, if he's fine with it, he's gonna do it. It's like if somebody's gonna make those kinds of corrections, they would have to be the type of person that's thinking like, "Oh man, this movie could be great if you just kept that take." But they're probably just on set being like, "Well, this is just a bad movie, whatever." Like,
well, you know who I'm imagining? I'm imagining like a friend who also isn't very good, so he's not going to be able to take it to an extreme level, but he may be able to find the really low ball hanging fruit and be like, "Hey, that's obvious. I saw Bad Boys,
I don't know.
And it was my favorite movie, and it didn't have a scene like this."
Nah, if Neil Breen's happy with it, I don't see why people should,
Well, the cynic in me who likes to laugh at him likes how he is. I'm just trying to imagine how he got here,
Yeah.
There's like sets full of people that don't really care, that wouldn't criticize what the director's doing. They're just there to work and do what they're told, sort of thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, people he pays, yeah. I guess I was just thinking more like friends and family. Because in the very early projects, you would assume that he'd be grabbing these kinds of people or showing it. Like I know I show my friends stuff constantly.
Well, maybe it's
I
like
don't
a
know if he
mirrorless
has
stories
friends
type
or
of thing.
family.
It's a possibility.
Yeah, there's that.
It's
Or,
family.
like most
okay.
most people who show their family stuff, it turns out to be like a mirrorless story.
Who do
type
you
of
think
thing.
inspired
people are-
Real Brain?
Spielberg.
Nah, it really sucks because like there are questions that that people are dying to know the answers to, and he like on his retrospective he even had a part where he's like, "Oh, I love movies, but I'm not going to tell you which directors or movies are my favorite. I just can't pick one." It's
Sure,
just
it
like
was
just pick some then. Just tell
give me an
tell
example.
yeah,
Sure, it
give me
was
one.
Lynch.
Give me like a few examples if you can't. If you're not
Something
like
I would say
yeah.
if I made a
You said
movie.
Holy
I'm just
Mountain
like,
is your favorite
there's too
movie,
many.
so-
I don't know. I could like point out The Thing. Then that's the first thing I would always go to. The Thing. I think The Thing
You
is
know-
great.
It is great. Yeah, I agree.
Well,
Oh, that's a
okay.
good one, Adam. You're talking about 80s movies that were big that are still holding up.
Oh
I think
yeah,
The Thing.
the Thing is the first fucking horror film I ever saw where you could actually take the characters seriously.
Yeah, but the
seriously,
thing the
good
thing
point.
wasn't a gigantic financial success right off the bat though. That
And
again
also
fits
the
under
Oh, I
that's
forgot that was part of the
yeah,
criteria.
like
Or
I
the
was
50s
saying,
one.
every 80s movie I love is something
Big
that was like
blockbusters.
not successful, not that successful at first, and then grew to be a cult classic.
What the? Well,
Or
I
you
guess-
don't like Out of
Amadeus.
Africa?
No, that was way
Out of
earlier, actually.
Africa? I don't know if I've seen that.
Yeah.
I did something really
You've seen
dumb.
Amadeus.
That's the movie that like took Best Picture while like Brazil only got 2 nominations, which really stinks because I think
Brazil is
Brazil's
fraught with
excellent.
issues. Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to say something about like talking
Oh.
about like
No, go on.
filmmakers who react to criticism negatively.
Go on.
I was remembering my Gaia Online days where I'd be a troglodyte and hang out in the fucking forums and share my shit. And this was back when that magnum opus I talked about had Nazis as the main antagonists, and I shared that shit. And people were criticizing me constructively and harshly,
Mhm.
and I just responded to it so horribly. And
Yeah.
they're like, Nazis are overdone. I'm like, I don't care.
Mhm.
Well, that's
And then I look back at it now. I'm like, yeah, they are overdone. And and that's the thing is, I feel like people like those have potential to change, but that's the question: is are they willing to?
Well,
Well, like I said, it
also,
would be
if
to
you're
our
going
detriment.
to make a change, it can't just be because somebody else told you. Like, if somebody else tells you and then you agree with it, then yeah, make the change.
Yeah. Yeah,
if
you
you
need to
don't
understand it.
agree with somebody telling you to do something, then don't change for them.
And I'm not saying I changed it because of them, but I looked
Yeah.
through it and saw some.
Yeah,
really
if it makes
shitty
you like
things
think
in
about
it.
something differently and reflect on it yourself, and you come to that conclusion also, then yeah.
I mean, Metro
Always
did
remember-
the whole like Nazi thing right.
Mhm.
I couldn't do it right because
Was
I
Labyrinth
just
a
read
hit?
it off of.
No.
I shouldn't say
Like,
it like that.
how we're
They-
still on this hunting down a successful good 80s movie.
It's hard.
There
because a
could
lot of
be
them are,
one. I
like,
just can't think of one.
Die Hard. A lot of them I just
Amadeus.
I like Die Hard.
Alright.
Yeah, there's one.
I do like Die Hard.
Yeah,
A lot
there
of
we
them
go.
I agree though, because like Predator's on there, and I'm like, I like it, but if I saw it come out today, I would be like, oh. So it's
Aliens,
like so
mine.
much of it is
No,
nostalgia.
Aliens the 70s.
Alien is 79.
79, right?
Aliens is 80s.
Yeah, I'll count it. I'll count it then, since it's like
Once
on
Upon a
that,
Time in
on that
America.
cusp.
Oh yeah. Have you seen Once Upon a Time in America, Adam?
Not yet. It's on my list.
Hey, can we also vote to retire Once Upon a Time in anything?
Batman 1989 doesn't hold up that well. Like Batman in there, they designed
I
his
watched that
costume
a
so
long
that he
time
can't
ago.
No, Kevin Smith had a
turn his
great
head.
line
So
about
if he
that.
wants to look
Yeah.
behind him, he has to turn his body like 180 degrees.
The problem is I think that Tim Burton is wildly overrated. Everyone is
He
just
is.
so into his first couple of things. Like I think
Well, it's
Nightmare
like-
Before Christmas is fantastic too. But
He didn't even direct
when I
it.
Corpse Bride.
There
Did
you
you
go.
like Corpse Bride?
I do like Corpse Bride a lot, but also like when I see
Corpse
Sweeney
Bride is
Todd,
so
though,
underrated.
I don't give Sweeney Todd a whole bunch of extra credit points just because it's a Tim Burton joint.
Yeah.
I like Sweeney Todd.
I just don't.
have
I just don't
seen-
think it's. I don't think it's transcends. Like I would probably give it a 6 out of 10.
I've seen Corpse Bride, but I don't know how I would rate it because
like
the
Corpse
entire
Bride.
thing was in Japanese.
Even better.
Hmm.
I don't like Corpse Bride. I think it's too bland and
Corpse
just
Bride was forgettable for me.
I can still tell what was
I
happening.
enjoyed it when I was like 10, but now I'm just look back at it and I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
I remember when I was a kid, I used to think that Nightmare Before Christmas was weird because its moral, the story was basically stay in your lane, which I thought was kind of weird.
I thought
guess
like
it's really supposed to
Nightmare
be
Before
like learn
Christmas
to
was
appreciate what
weird
you
when I
have.
was younger, just because it was like kind of violent for a PG rating.
Which
There were
one?
like arms falling off or something.
Talking about,
I mean, I know
Nightmare?
it was all stop motion.
Oh,
But
yeah.
still, it kind of creeped me out.
Yeah, my parents
know
were a
what?
little weird about it.
Planes,
My,
Trains, and
my
Automobiles
parents
was
were
pretty
always
good.
weird. They always just trusted the back of the whatever it said.
Oh, yeah,
I remember
yeah.
there was even one time we all sat down to watch Airplane together, and they've seen the movie before, but it was like it's PG.
Straight up boobs in it. Yeah.
Like,
I
my
remember
parents definitely
reading,
seen the
Like,
movie before.
shirtless woman jumps onto the screen. They were,
Yeah.
I'm sure they were like,
For a
oh,
second,
no.
for no reason.
Those guys,
Yeah, my
I
parents
swear.
didn't like that.
Dude, can we talk about how those guys, like, no one's been able to duplicate their style? Like, the guys who kept making date
They're
movie
just
and epic
funny.
movie and shit like that. Yeah, but they did that parody movie style that has a lot of referential humor
It's
that
stupid.
no one's
Yeah,
been able
their
to really
stuff-
copy.
The stuff,
I
their
love
stuff is
Airplane.
clever.
I've only seen
People
like the
think that-
trailers for those epic movie, disaster movie type
Yeah, those
things,
guys are
and
the
those look
worst.
awful.
Seltzer and Friedberg, those movies are terrible.
I think that Black Dynamite is amazing, and I think that
Amazing.
the first scary
Yeah.
movie isn't a bad movie at all. Honestly,
it is watchable.
What are
I
you
think.
guys' opinions on Scary
I
Movie
saw it
3?
yesterday.
The
One of
Zucker
my
brothers.
friends who watched the fourth one with me, like on TV, he thought it was like a fucking nightmare. He didn't believe that it was real.
They are. Dude, like
Okay,
epic
so
movie and
it's
date
an
movie,
unpopular
it's just
opinion.
references.
But I had some pretty good memories with Scary Movie 3. I don't know if I could watch it again now, but
I
Yeah.
remember laughing at the trailer.
I don't
for
like Scary Movie. I
three
like
saw
one of
when
my
I was really
okay,
young.
okay. So one of my favorite scenes is the deputy's hat like getting bigger every shot. Like that's clever. That's some pretty good.
I don't know if I'd call that
I've
clever.
seen like scary movies 1 through
Okay, maybe not
4.
clever, but it's a great visual.
Zucker
Because, like,
brothers had
I-
a lot of the physical prop humor.
When I think of something like the deputy's hat, all I'm gonna compare it to is like the parts in Black Dynamite that kind of did the same thing, but were so much more subtle. Like the continuity error with
yeah.
like the
Yeah.
tier or like the boom mic, and in that way, it wasn't like let's do something that is like so wildly outrageous that doesn't exist in the universe that the film would be in, sort of thing. Like that you know, it's kind of like breaking the fourth wall in a sense. But in Black Dynamite, like the filmmakers that are making the fake movie that is the movie is like a part of the character of the film, right?
Yeah,
It's
Black
like you're not
Dynamite
watching a
looks
movie,
awesome.
you're watching a movie in a movie, in a sense. You know?
Yeah, Black
It
Dynamite
copies
seems like
mistakes that
unbelievably
other films
underrated.
did, but in that context, it makes sense and is very clearly part of the joke.
Yeah, and like there's things that like are not so explicit and overt that like you could miss it on first watch, sort of thing.
By the way,
Yeah,
those two
and-
jokes
and-
you mentioned, I watched the film like 3 times. Don't know what you're talking about. I guess that's part of the. You
Oh
know, there's
yeah,
new
Black
jokes every
Dynamite, you
time
can
type of
find
thing.
new jokes like watching it like 10 times.
Dude, my
Oh,
favorite
yeah.
scene of almost anything ever is them breaking down what the Anaconda malt liquor is.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, that's just amazing.
Thinking about the who are they? The Zucker brothers or something?
Yeah, Zucker
like
brothers did the airplane.
The
animations.
Zaz.
I was thinking about like Top Secret.
Yeah,
Just a
that's
lot
what I
of
was
the
looking at.
Perspective gags. that they
Exactly.
had.
Like the guy's got the eyeglass and his eye looks huge and he moves it away. It's actually just regular glass and he has a huge eye. Like those kinds
Yeah,
of
or no, even better, the fucking telephone.
yeah, the phone looks like it's forced perspective, like huge towards the camera. When he walks up and grabs it, it actually is just a huge phone.
That's clever to me. That's just great.
Yeah.
Well, and that's when you're talking about the hat getting wider. I was thinking like Zucker Brothers just use a lot of those kinds of or
Oh
the
yeah,
same thing,
no,
right?
that's what I mean. Like they just
We've
have
seen
a lot
that
of fun.
We've seen that shot 1,000 times of like a guy crawls somewhere and he sees boots and then he slowly looks up the boots and you see the legs and you see the person.
Oh, yeah.
They do that
Again,
same joke, but it's only
again,
a pair
Top
of
Secret.
boots. Oh, yeah, top secret. Yeah, exactly. So it's just those,
Or one of my favorite ones that I saw that Red Letter Media brought up was the Ford Pinto.
oh, and it explodes. Yeah,
Yeah, they like gently tap the bumper and the fucking thing explodes.
because there was a
like,
recall at the time. So that's actually a good example because Red Letter Media also just did the one on UHF, and they're talking about how Weird
I haven't
Al
seen
did
that
a
yet.
good job. Well, Weird Al did a good job of not. he obviously did referential humor, but he wasn't doing things that ended up becoming irrelevant in like the next 2 weeks. So most of the references, especially even like the songs like Gangsta's Paradise, like it's still being used in like the Sonic trailer. Like a lot of his references people would still get. So it is trouble to try to not get so close. Like Seltzer and Freeberg, those movies, like date movie, a lot of times it's a reference to like Paris Hilton or something. So when you go back and watch those movies, they age like milk.
Yeah.
Oh,
and I think that's also like part of the reason why I like the first Scary Movie is because like I was very, very into when I was younger, like 90s slasher movies. And that's like what it's the entire thing like is a direct parody of like I Know What You Did Last Summer, Scream, et cetera, et cetera. And so like if you're familiar with all those other films, then you get a lot more out of it.
Yep.
Scream felt to me as its own parody of slasher in a sense.
Yeah, Scream is like self-aware in a way, but it like it's weird. Scary Movie is like a parody of Scream at the same time.
Which is already a parody.
Yeah,
of
it's like a parody of the genre.
There's
They
also
went,
like one
Inception.
with, like, where Freddy Krueger is doing like he was like doing like TV interviews and.
That's one of the
New Nightmare.
That's one of
New
the actual
Nightmare.
that's an actual Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Yeah.
Like the third or fourth one or something.
I watched it once when I was younger, and I don't remember hating it or anything. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 6 is like fucking awful, but I remember parts of New Nightmare that I was like, that's kind of cool. You know?
Yeah, it's like clever. It's actually kind of return to form.
Yeah,
I
it's-
got to the part with the kid at night with the knives or whatever, and I was like,
I don't
Again,
remember.
when I was a kid,
I'll have to see them all again. I want to marathon them.
Old Boy. Then again, when I was a kid, I didn't think Old Boy.
First one's
20 fuck whatever.
2013?
2013 or 2003?
2013 because
Yeah, what about it?
I was young at the time.
Oh, you didn't
I'm
get
still
it?
young.
Yeah, I
but
saw it
was way
before I saw the
younger.
original. I didn't know there was an original. I was like 13. So
You know what? To me, that's probably the ultimate benefit that could happen from these shitty American bastardized versions of these, is it could be people's entrance into knowing that there is an older, better one.
Or it could be a replacement.
Yeah,
Could
I
be
mean,
one or the other.
there isn't
The
any
sad
marketing
thing
for these
is-
old movies except for these new movies, so it
Yeah,
does
exactly,
get
right.
people to go check out the old movies. So
In a
Yeah,
way.
so, it's also going to jade people though, where they see this new movie and say, "Oh, that movie that sucked." Like
That's a
Like I
problem.
mentioned, I
I
have the
still-
entirety of One Piece, and One Piece
I mean-
still has a miserable the miserable reputation in America because of the 4Kids dub. People still think it's just this
So
really
I watched
fucking
the
shit
Old Boy
kid show.
I just watched the Old Boy review again, and there was a comment that led to a timestamp, and it just said, "Just watch the red guy." And it was like this guy. It was like it was during the hallway fight scene in the 2013, and literally. It was just like a guy just fucking waving his hands around, just slowly getting closer.
I noticed
to John
that guy.
Bond, and he
Yeah.
just fucking smacks. And it's just-
like
Yeah, noodle time. You have to have everybody hanging around eating noodles waiting. It's
Yeah, watch that
it's
again.
tough though, because I could imagine a world where someone saw like the Netflix Death Note and then they were like, all right, if that's basically
yeah,
what it is,
and
I don't
that's-
want to watch the anime.
Yeah.
I feel
I'm
bad
sure there's
for
people out there
anyone
like
that saw like the Old Boy remake before the original.
Yeah.
Because then you have like the ending spoiled in the worst
That's
way
true.
possible.
You're right. That's a good point because the
that's
spoiler aspect
Father.
of it.
I already knew that was
Father.
happening. Like I watched it in the old one. I already
You
knew
called her a whore.
That's
Well, you
the
know what's
thing.
funny about
They
that?
think
It's
that, like,
exactly how I
me
felt with
with
Hitchhiker's Guide to the
Guillermo-
Galaxy, where I was like, how are they saying the right lines? But it's just even how you're saying the line is ruining the joke.
Mhm.
Well, and that's the thing is like I was realizing that about the two movies. I think what I got from Old Boy is that it's about redemption, self redemption as well, and
Mhm.
you know,
I'm just
forgiving
saying,
yourself for
like-
these sins.
Hey, what do you guys think? What do you guys think the Lighthouse is about?
The Lighthouse is about atonement. I think.
No spoilers, please.
Yeah, no
Then never
spoilers.
mind. Then never
I
mind.
know it's ironic.
Yeah, we
since
can't
it's
really
for
get
the,
into it.
Old Boy
That's
manga.
fine. That's fine.
I'm sorry.
My what I think
Hey,
it's about is fraught with
Weird
spoilers.
question: has anyone seen Russian Doll?
Yeah, I
didn't
watched
get
the
around to it.
first
My
like
roommate
2
saw it.
episodes and I was just not into it.
Yeah, I
I did
sat
say-
in.
I thought their take on the Groundhog Day thing was a little interesting.
It's
Yeah,
kind of
well,
funny how like
everybody's doing that whole Groundhog Day
Right.
gimmick.
It's
now.
like
no
so
one touched it
overused.
for 30 years.
Yeah,
no one
even
touched
if
it
you
for
look
like
at this
30 years, and now
stupid
here it is.
Netflix movie called
I know.
Naked. I mean, if you guys heard about that, about some like
No, but I heard
African
about Happy
American
Death
dude
Day.
who like keeps
That's
waking
funny.
up naked in an elevator or something. Looks terrible.
I don't know. Like, so what's funny is that I'm gonna recommend a song if you guys don't mind psychedelic music. But what brought me to Russian Doll was that they used a song called "Death of a Rock Star" by the Ecocentrics. And I was so curious to know how they handled it, and they didn't even include the singing in that song. And the singing is so mesmerizing and hypnotic. It's I wish I could show it. Obviously, I can't. But
Eli just brought up that Tim Burton jumped the shark because he did a remake of Planet of the Apes. What's so funny about that is that his ending was really similar to an ending that Kevin Smith had come up with for a comic. And when asked about it, he was like, anyone who knows me knows I wouldn't read comic books. And it's like, hey, fuck you, guy who made Batman.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean,
I love the arrogant attitude of like, how dare you accuse me of being a comic book reader? And then you're going to go out of your way to make up, comic book movies.
I'll be back in like 30 seconds. Hold on.
Parts of like the 1989 Batman look really stupid, especially like the makeup for the Joker.
What about the comics?
Looks so dumb.
What are you asking?
What about the comics?
What happened was he made Planet of the Apes, and Kevin Smith had made a comic of Planet of the Apes, and both of them had the ending where the Lincoln Memorial had the ape guy on it instead. And so someone came and asked Kevin Smith, like, hey, do you think he stole from you? And he was like, jokingly, he was like, yeah, I think he did. I'm going to sue him. And then when they went back and talked to Tim Burton, he was like, anyone who knows me, all my friends know that I would never, I would never read a comic book, or I don't read comic books. And it was like, this is well after he had made Batman. So it's like, it's so frustrating to me to have a guy be willing to direct and make a Batman movie, but then have this arrogant, like, I would never read a comic book kind of attitude. It's like, well, then don't make those movies.
Well, and that's where that proverb comes from. Nothing is new under the sun.
Well, that's why I was saying earlier, I don't think people should hyper obsess over being totally original. I think they should focus a lot on quality, and I think a lot of times originality will burst out through that. On top of that, though, a lot of my favorite I've seen movies are some of my all-time favorite movies, and I didn't see a single original thing. They just expertly nailed the things you're supposed to do. So
a style and personality can be the originality too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The originality
in
like
terms
the
of
elements coming
originality,
together, not the elements isolated.
Well, it's why there's not one video reviewer. There's not one movie reviewer.
Yeah. No, Doug Walker is the ultimate movie reviewer.
It's so bad. Did you see Ralph the Movie Maker's video about him?
Yes.
I haven't watched it yet. I've been so busy.
Yeah, like nearly
but I was
an hour
watching.
long.
I used to unironically watch that stuff back in the day.
I was watching
Me too.
ONG talking about about Nostalgia Critic.
Yeah, I remember Lindsay Ellis when she was Nostalgia Girl.
I was never into it.
Chick.
15 years ago. You know what it was? I think that I just liked I haven't thought about Land Before Time since I was a baby. It's fun to
that's
go through this with this guy
part of the appeal.
Idiot.
And the funny thing is, like, I first came across Nostalgia Critic when he guested on a Phantom Strider video. And I was like, oh, all right, this guy's kind of funny, but I watched more of his stuff, and now it's just kind of annoying.
I have that problem with Kevin Smith. I love listening to him talk, but I can't watch his movies.
Well, the thing with Nostalgia Critic is like now he's revealed that he's revealed several times that he doesn't even want to be doing it. He's tried to quit like twice.
Yep.
Well, now it just makes him a shit ton of money. So
they're also fraught with issues. Like the company that he's been connected to has ending
whole
assault issues and people having to leave and come back and lawsuits and.
Yeah, that's a thing though. Is like when you're thrust into that sort of like success, just being some guy on the internet, and then you try to run an actual business, and it's like, well, that's not.
No idea.
Yeah, you don't know how to run a business. You're just kind of you might just be thinking like, oh yeah, I'm just still doing things with my friends or whatever, and just forget that you're actually running a business.
Yeah, he's just he's talent, and then same thing happened with a lot of the individual guys. Like Phil DeFranco talks about this all the time. He was his own guy, and he was the talent. And so then he started this company, and then third-party companies got involved, and he had all of a sudden turn into this like business guru, and everyone's like, "Wow, he's such a good business-minded person." He's like, "No, I'm just like, I'm just like responding to like what's happening. I don't know what I'm doing at all."
Well, and that's the thing is, shit. I don't know what I was gonna say.
I'm gonna
exactly.
Oh, you know what? What I was gonna say was like to this day though, I can't watch Nostalgia Critic because of that whole shit in like 2018 or whatever. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth. But I still, to this day, I still get chuckles from thinking about the Doug's first movie review because there were some good bits in it.
You know,
And
that
someone-
wall video, I couldn't believe, because I'm a huge Slipknot fan, and I was like, how is Corey Taylor connected to this?
Probably because his son watches
like
the
video
Nostalgia
essay
Critic.
analyzing specific
That's what I have
topics
to
are
assume.
actually
Oh my gosh.
decent. I think like he needs to move away from
Or Fenna.
comedy because like so many of his
He thinks he's
reviews are
hilarious,
just
though.
pointing out specific parts of the movie and riffing on them.
He loves doing
what
the
happened
skits.
back in- Yeah, he's just
so annoying though.
trying to
I
be
know,
a
that's what I'm saying. The
comedian
problem is
more
I
than a
think that's
critic.
what he thinks he is.
And I think that if he actually
thinks
dedicates
so.
time to analyze movies, he's better. Which is
I don't know.
But
It'd be hard to
like
explain
his
it to
video
him.
essays on stuff like he actually talked about the difference between a pretentious film and just a film that is a very very ambitious and unconventional. And he brought up Synecdoche, New York as like something that's very unconventional but good. He actually really liked
That's
Synecdoche,
cool.
New York, and he brought up it's
Well, there's almost nobody I'm
entirely
gonna, like,
about how
100%
you,
disagree with.
I've never seen it actually.
Synecdoche?
Yeah,
It's good.
they
It's
all
a movie
are.
that you should probably watch alone.
Oh, is it a?
Yeah.
It's about life and death, right?
It's about
I would just say watch it. I wouldn't try to explain
Yeah.
anything. Like, let's just watch
I think
it.
yeah, you can't just say
Personal
is it
impact
about
on the
this
world,
theme
that's
because
what I got
there's
away
so
from
many
it.
themes that you can
Right.
analyze and
I don't want you
interpret for
hunting for
yourself.
themes
It's a
and missing
movie
stuff
that's-
because you're trying to shoehorn it into a theme that you were told
Yeah,
was
of
the
Ooh,
best.
yeah, that always is kind of the worst thing.
Yeah,
God damn,
you're
I
hunting
keep
for life and
referencing One
death stuff,
Piece,
and you're missing
but-
relationship stuff.
So there's like two parallel stories in One Piece, and the One Piece community, they always try to like relate the Pirate King's journey to Luffy's journey, and they shoehorn fucking anything into there. Like, oh, this character kind of resembles this one, so he's definitely
Right.
Luffy's Whitebeard, shit like
Talking about
that.
Synecdoche,
Well,
New
weren't they
York.
trying to do that with Soul Eater, where they're saying like, oh, all these characters resemble a mental disability?
Oh yeah. Oh, like the fucking kid. Oh wait, no. What was it?
Like, oh, this is supposed to
SpongeBob,
resemble
gluttony
ADHD.
plus
Multi-personality.
I think that's what they did with the
Oh,
Babadook.
this
as
is supposed
well.
to resemble autism.
I heard that Babadook that was done top down though. I thought that was like the point.
That if I ever make anything, that is my biggest like, that I'm probably gonna cringe at is watching people like take my things and like pigeonhole it.
You know what? Though?
Yeah.
I think it'd be
A theme.
fun. I think that'd be really.
I think it would be fun to look at it, but I also would just go like, no.
Well, and
you're
knowing
like-
that you,
oh,
all,
you're like
if you
a
explain
Christian
it, it
too
just
far
ruins
in,
the
dude.
art.
Is
So I
Sans
have
Ness?
this,
Well, dude,
I
so
have
David F.
this-
Sandberg had a great point about that. The guy who Pony Smasher, the guy who made
Yeah.
Lights Out, and he was saying that when he did Shazam, he was explaining how there's this whole scene where the kids have to like walk outside because one of the kids takes off, and then they go back inside, and that explains why they're already wearing their winter coats because the rest of the movie they have to wear them. Well, one of the little girls couldn't make it for the shoot that day when they're going to be outside, so they just wrote it where she was inside having to still put her shoes on. She was like tying her shoes slowly. Well, he was like, then he started seeing all these like fans who were like, oh, you see what it is she's actually the girl who gets super speed. So that's actually like a theme that he's telling us, that she was the slowest one. And now that's why she's the fastest one. He's like, no, it was just really basic problem solving.
Yeah.
And now people think like, every tiny little.
Sometimes
decision
things
you're
just
making
work.
is some-
Sometimes it's like
totally.
serendipitous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would-
I'm
and
gonna
that's the
I'm gonna
thing
end
is-
the hangout pretty soon. So if anybody has any like
Alright, I have a question.
yeah, one at a
I
time,
think
and
it's
we'll
like
go
a-
through everybody.
I think it's like relating to like current events. So apparently, like production on the new like Jurassic World movie is starting up again, but like Universal is like, putting in a $5 million safety plan to like keep everybody safe.
Mhm.
Something from COVID. Do you think that's gonna help, or do you think production should?
I don't know. It depends what they're actually doing. Because like
maybe it's not for COVID. Maybe it's because they like bred actual fucking dinosaurs. Maybe I don't know.
maybe like I don't know if they have
not
the
gonna wear
money
masks
for like
throughout the
people
whole
to be tested, and they just test everybody every day, then that's something they could do. You never know. It
Oh my
depends on
gosh.
like what kind of how much you can space out the environment on the set. Who knows? Like I'm sure it's possible. It's not as bad of an idea as opening back up schools in America. So
or Disney
Yeah.
World.
or Disney World. Yeah.
It's funny because I consider myself very conservative, but I think Trump is a fucking disgrace.
Yeah, he's really down in the polls. I think everybody's sick of his shit now.
Trump's idiocy is not like a
Hey,
left
you guys ready
versus
to vote
right thing.
Kanye? Let's get the meme.
No,
moving.
fuck
dropped
that
out.
shit.
Dropped
Oh,
out.
fuck.
All right. Anybody? Because I'll be
Yeah,
ending this soon. Anybody else that
I was
wanted to
gonna-
ask a question that didn't get to?
No, I need to go to
I
sleep.
wouldn't
Bye-bye.
say
Alright, you're
a
heading
question,
out?
but I would
Have a good
say
one.
back on the topic of like
Bye-bye.
pigeonholing random themes into a movie so that you like always think about it.
Mhm.
I always bring up. I literally use Adam's Kimba video now as a reference to like, oh yeah, if you want to see like a good discussion on like comparing shit that should not be related to each other, go watch Adam's view on Kimba and Lion King.
yeah.
Because
Well, and it's like what I was saying. You know, because I was also talking about originality, and you brought up how it was like $300 or not $300. Fuck, what am I saying? 300 episodes plus.
It was
And I
like
telling,
over 3,000. It was about 3,500 minutes of shit.
Yeah, well, and that's where I think I was talking to you, Chad. I don't know. I was talking to someone. I was saying, there is the proverb that says, nothing is new under the sun, and that's what I hate about those Kimba supporters.
One thing I said, if I wanted to make a movie about a bunch of people in the elevator, and one of them is like, it's a whodunit, it would be hard not to have something like Devil. Like, it's just such a narrow field. There's only so many things you can do without running into similarities.
What do you think about Devil, Adam? Have you seen it?
It wasn't good.
Written by Shyamalan.
Yeah.
It was it was based off of an idea from M. Night, and then from another director who he might have been the director from like Quarantine or some shit. I don't remember who directed it, but yeah, it wasn't like great. It was kind of cheesy, but yeah, back to that Kimba thing. I'm at the point now where like every week or so, I'll just search on Twitter and then sort by new. I'll search Kimba the White Lion, and there's still so many idiots. It's just like keep propping up this conspiracy theory, and like half of them will have people being like, "No, it's debunked now," which is good.
I thought about making like a parody one that was trying to defend the Kimba thing, but just trying to use the worst examples possible. But the problem is that the real ones are so bad that I don't think it would scan.
That'd be a fun compilation with everyone here.
Hey Chad, you said you do a podcast, right?
I do.
Can you link it in the chat?
Oh yes.
Is that cool, Adam? I don't want
to
be
I don't care.
Can I show my shit?
Let me link my
yeah, exactly,
my
right, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's just within the Zoom chat. So
okay, fair. Yeah. Hey, I got my OnlyFans here if you guys want to enjoy.
Like, I don't care if you put it in YouTube chat, but I don't think it'll let you. I think you have to be like moder admin to do that, to link. All right, so ending this pretty soon. Are there any other questions people that wanted to ask?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
I wanted to ask. So I recently watched Shane Carruth's Primer, and I thought of this question for a while, and I wasn't really sure. Where do you think does it cross the line between something that doesn't make sense, but then something that is so confusing that there's obviously purpose and a meaning?
I mean, like to have something like Primer that like you can map out what's going on. It doesn't hold your hand, but there's like charts that people have made basically on that movie.
And one of them was on Wikipedia.
Yeah, like
it
there's
does technically make sense.
Yeah, there's an order and a logic to the things that are happening in that film, and because of that, like because the more times you watch it or the more you dissect it, you can figure out, like add pieces to the puzzle and connect the dots, sort of thing. That by definition isn't just something that's intentionally being convoluted to appear smarter than it is. It's something that is exactly what it is, versus something where I don't know, like the types of films that I would say are in the other category would be films that are like more interpretable or like metaphorical than that, where it's like they're not really saying anything, but they present themselves in a way where they expect you to think that they're saying something,
I think to an extent too that with Primer, the time travel itself and the machine is relatively a MacGuffin, and there's a lot of theme things that you're supposed to be getting from that movie, and not supposed to be going, wait a second, how exactly does this time travel work? And doing it like that is probably an even better way than like Terminator, where it does give you such a simple answer that you immediately can poke holes in it and go, well then wait a second. But with Primer, it's hard to poke holes because you don't understand how it works the first time you watch the movie, and that's not the thing you're necessarily paying attention to. And if you are, you probably don't like the movie.
Yeah.
There's a video game that I really love called 9 Hours, 9 Doors, 9 Persons. And maybe I just didn't notice it, but I still haven't found a plot hole in regards to like the time travel stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just me, but I really
Never heard
like
of
the
it,
game.
so.
It's probably my favorite. Yeah, it's a really good visual novel. It's on Steam, but it's a DS game that they made into HD, so it doesn't actually look all that. 9 Hours, 9 Doors, 9 Persons. I really like it, but yeah, it's don't play the sequels. The sequels are exactly what it shouldn't have been the first time.
It's got a really
because the first time it's very contained, but it's also very self-aware and like it. I didn't notice any instance where it didn't actually follow its own rules. It's not actually time travel per se, but it's still really interesting.
Okay.
The sequels have just full-on time travel, and then it starts becoming completely nonsensical.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, but like the first one is actually like incredibly suspenseful, and I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack for the first game is incredible. It's grungy and it fits perfectly with the claustrophobia of the entire situation. It's a contained thriller, kind of like a death game contained thrillers like Saw or Devil or whatever. And it's really interesting. It's really interesting, and not everything about it is good. There's some cheese, but I still love it a lot.
All right.
It's
Any
definitely worth playing.
any other questions from people that didn't get to before?
I might have one or something. Will you be seeing that movie Becky? It has like Kevin James is like a neo-Nazi.
Oh,
like, invades
probably
his family's
not.
home and
I don't
asks
know.
for this
Maybe.
key. I don't know. It might just be kind of funny for you to watch a movie.
Yeah,
like Kevin James
I might
and,
skip through it. It looks kind of shit. So.
I'm mostly
Yeah, it
interested
looks
though
pretty
because
bad.
it's so off character for him. It would be a really
I know.
interesting example to see if he actually has some acting chops.
Maybe
Nah.
I felt that
Neo-Nazi
way.
called
I felt
Lord.
that way in American Hustle with Jennifer Lawrence. I had completely written her off, and then I saw American Hustle and was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that is often used as like kind of like a selling point in ways that doesn't
being
work out
off-character.
all the time.
For sure.
Any
It's just low cost.
anybody that didn't get to ask a closing question that wants to?
I have to go right now. So thank you
All right,
for
have a good
having
one.
me, Adam.
Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you. Bye
Yes, I
bye.
got one
Chad, I was going to tell you.
You should check out this guy. You probably haven't heard of him. He's called Robert Evans.
Robert Evans.
Yeah, have you heard? No, I'm kidding. It was from the Twitch. It was from the Twitch thing. Yeah, that was all. It was just a joke.
Oh, okay. I don't even remember what the joke
I
was.
have had a pleasure meeting all of you guys and getting to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you for hanging out.
I'll catch you all on the Discord. If you guys like going on the Discord, I'll be there.
Yeah.
All right. Did anybody that didn't like get to feel like they didn't get to ask their question that wants to?
I was just going to tell Chad that.
I think pretentious bloke was trying to ask something.
Go ahead.
This is a question more so for everyone, but do you think that Ghibli movies are like gonna get remade into live action?
Oh no!
I don't know I don't know if that is. I mean, it's possible. Like Princess Mononoke
Disney
might
actually
or something,
had the
but
rights
who
to
knows?
them once. Disney actually had the rights to them in America, so it's good that G Kids got the rights instead, because if they hadn't, Disney probably would have made crappy live action.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, who
It would have been
knows?
awful.
I don't know if I mean it wouldn't be good either way, but who knows? Like they remake everything, so it's not out of the question.
Do you have a count on how many Blu-rays you own right now?
Do I what?
Have a count on how many Blu-rays you own?
Well, just watch the Blu-ray collection video and do some math, I guess.
It's 9 hours. It's 9 hours.
I ain't sitting through that.
Really long.
Well, somebody made a timestamp, so just go through the comments and add them up.
All right.
I don't know. Probably a lot.
Too many?
I have no idea.
A healthy amount for a reviewer, I'd assume.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Adam, why did you just watch Your Name? I mean, was that something somebody?
Why did I watch it?
Yeah. I mean,
Because I'm
did
going through
somebody
2016
recommend it?
movies, and it was like the most like. It was like
sorry, I
the biggest
forgot about
opening for like an anime in Japan like ever or some shit. And so I watched it, and I thought it was very bland. It wasn't like super original in the first place. It was like Freaky Friday plus Donnie Darko plus one more thing. Plus The Lake House. Yeah. And the music was very inappropriately used, especially during the climax of the film. It took away a lot of the emotion.
Yeah.
It was just very I was not invested, and I did not care by the end of it. It was fine for the first half hour, but it was like it took a long time to not do much. It felt like a really stretched out first act even.
Yeah, you definitely wouldn't like Weathering with You. It's sort of like
I'm gonna have to watch it because that's also 2016, so we'll see.
It's
I
not.
guess since.
Oh wait, no, that's not. Is that the same director? I'm confusing it with something else.
Yeah, it is the same director.
Yeah,
but
never mind.
2019. I think.
Okay, yeah.
No,
I'll watch
I
it
don't know if this
eventually.
was also 20. I don't know if this was 2016, but there was one I liked a lot. It was an anime movie called Silent Voice.
I think that is, yeah.
Yes.
I read the manga of
That's
that before.
2016.
And I
My
just,
friend.
I'll watch it.
I think I
get
told
that
you about
feeling
it
of
my
it.
first time I was here, and now my friend has been asking ever since, and he wants you to give your thoughts really bad. I'm like, dude, he's busy.
Thoughts on what?
On A Silent Voice.
Yeah, I'll watch
My
it.
friend is
I'll watch
eagerly
it sometime, probably this year.
thoughts. Yeah, I'm gonna have to tell him that so he can, not be so impatient.
Mm-hmm.
It cuts out quite a few like character interactions in the manga that I really did like though. So
Yeah.
it's a sacrifice, but of course it has to happen for it to be a movie.
All right.
It's a really good.
I gotta go set up for a movie. So.
All right.
Oh, fine.
See you, Adam.
All right. Thanks for hanging out. Check the just refresh the Patreon page near the beginning of next month, right where it says the perks, and it'll show you the date for the whatever the next month hangout is.
Yeah, I was looking for it. I couldn't find it. And that's why I did.
It's literally in the spot where where it says like the description of the perk, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
I'll catch you next month. Peace out, everybody.
Bye.
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 Love you.
How the fuck do I?